Welcome to another edition of the Royal Lions UK podcast, episode 307, Absolute Goffection. My name's Matthew Turner alongside Anthony Fitzpatrick. How you doing, man?
That title was as bad as the Jags' performance the other day. I'm not gonna lie. Unless that was the assignment, could have go out and create an episode title as bad as the Jags' performance the other day. In which case, A-star, you did really well. Proud of you.
My only aim in life is to see people audibly just go, "Oh no!" And if that happens, I've won. So in doing so, I think I got there. Welcome to a snowy England. We had lots of it over the evening. Woke up to it this morning as we laid Sarah's grandmother to rest. So it's been an emotional day over here in England, and I am so glad to be getting back to Lions football because it is an absolute joy in life right now. We'll go through all the bits and pieces we normally do in a minute, but what a weekend to be a Lions fan. We win. Kansas City lose. Several historic stats that the Lions set in this game. It just goes up and up and up.
And the Bears lost to a last-second block field goal. I was just, they say if Carlsberg did Sundays, they'd probably be the best Sundays in the world. And that was probably that was a Carlsberg Sunday, as they call it. So there's not much that really could have gone better for us. It was just, you love this domination. I've forgotten what it's like to lose. And there was a time in life when it felt like all we knew was loss and despair and terror and, mock drafting at this time of the year. Now, baby, it's like, no, don't even care. Do not give a damn.
All right, we're going to get through our preamble now, then a bit of news to get to, including some of those historic stats that set records. Then we're going to go through the game, but we will be brief because, frankly, there's no criticism. It's basically all praise. So that can just get depressing, can't it, after a while? And then we'll have a look at the rest of the weekend's games before we get out of here. As always, if you've got some questions in the live audience, do let me know and we'll get to them at the end of the show. Thanks for the well wishes that are in the chat at the moment. Appreciate you guys. Okay, please do come and join our Discord channel. Great place to chat Lions all week, all year long. Link is in the live chat right now or in the audio, on the podcast description in the audio pod. College football podcast and coming up this week. It was an eventful weekend of college football, including, I would say actually some bigger wins from some of the teams at the top.
Yeah, it's I see. This was like my least involvement in a college. I've been at a wedding all weekend, so I was getting hammered all Saturday, so I didn't really have chance to see much of what went on, and I missed a lot. I missed Florida winning. Florida look a very good team now, and I'm just saying, Florida are undergoing the Miami treatment right now. They've, just stick with them a little longer and things will come good. There's all sorts of good stuff on there. So, yeah, I still need to look through quite a bit, but it's the playoffs is shaking up to be huge. There's still this is the weekend coming. The undefeated teams who are not expected to be there have their tests this weekend. This is where we see who really can break into that top 12. And if they win, then there's going to be some big SEC teams missing out, or there's going to be some very nasty decisions made on par with the level of Florida State getting ejected from last year. So there are only 2 weeks left. It's very close. This is shaping up to be really, really good.
I mean, I just can't wait to see those teams that are playing for a conference championship where if they lose, they miss out on the playoffs altogether, and if they win, they're a top 4 seed. Like in Big 12, in point in question, Arizona State are in prime position to potentially win the whole thing or miss out entirely.
Yeah, so this has been the thing. Everyone's bitching the SEC championship runner-up might miss out because they lose an extra game. Well, don't lose 3 games in a season then. And if it's Bama, don't lose to Vanderbilt. I have no sympathy for you whatsoever. The conference game thing has been a screw for a long time. When Ohio State got in 2 years ago, when they nearly beat Georgia, they got in because another team played a conference championship game and lost, and Ohio State didn't play in their conference championship game, and they got in at 4.
Yeah.
That is unfair. Like this has been screwing teams over for ages. So I'm not a proponent. I don't think the conference championships really should take into it. They shouldn't reward teams who don't get there, let's say, because some of them teams can sneak in. I get it, but also don't lose 3 games. No 3-loss teams ever should make a playoff unless literally every team in the country has lost 3. So just win more, dudes, and don't complain otherwise.
And I mean, what's hilarious about the Big Ten is that you have a look at Ohio State, there are 4, including them, 1-loss teams or better so far. So, even in the old format, they'd be struggling themselves, even though they're very highly ranked still, which seems like an absolute travesty to me, but never mind. More chat on that later in the week. Please don't forget to like this show and sub to the podcast. You guys know what to do. And help our guys at Lions Nation Unite as well. That'd be much appreciated. With Twitch affiliated, YouTube monetized, there's a tip jar down below. You guys know what to do if you're enjoying the show. Not really spoken about it with the Lions as yet, but obviously we are in November, and of course we've had our own medical issues on the show, as some of you are probably aware. We talked about it before the season started about wanting to do something, and about the idea of maybe doing a drunk show. I'm going to try and put some feelers out there to the guys about maybe kind of doing some sort of charity drunk show. It really feels like with the Lions the way they are that we could do a Chuck in the Kool-Aid show for charity. Don't know about you, man, but I fucking love the sound of that.
Take a shot every Lions touchdown drive, we'd be wrecked.
Yeah.
Per game.
Well, I was more thinking something along the lines of, we have literally have not discussed this, so I'm just putting it out into the world, but something like, so thinking about, it doesn't have to be this charity, but Steve, for his illness, was raising money for Maggie's in Edinburgh, which is a cancer charity, and it's like, what about a shot every $20 donation to the charity? Like, as a wheel between us, not each of us, but like, see how much we can get by getting absolutely wrecked, talking shit about the Lions, maybe have a few guests on to come and join us.
I will have to think of something, won't we?
Yeah.
Like, there'll be some games where we need to liven it up down the stretch where we're already number 1 seed and people are bored waiting for the playoffs.
Yes. So. Week 19, playoff by charity stream. Perfect. And that would be second week of January?
That is a possibility. That's a possibility.
Could do it during college. No, there won't be any college football then.
Yes, there will be. Yes, there will be.
Playoffs
will still be going.
So we can watch the playoffs together and then do it while getting drunk, talking shit about the Lions. Anyway, work in progress. If you guys have some suggestions of things that you'd like us to do, I'm all ears, because we want to do something cool that you guys want to see, that we can raise lots of money for a cause which is close to us. Right. Some news. And in this game, really unfortunately, the Thor himself, the linebacker Alex Anzalone, has got a forearm injury. He is going to be out for, according to Dan Campbell, between 6 and 8 weeks. The online doctors seem to think it's more like between 4 to 6 weeks, but we shall see. The later timeline would indicate that he's going to be back, or at least eligible to have his window opened after getting back from his injury. Maybe round 1 of the playoffs. If we get the bye, he'll get a little bit of extra time, obviously. And he, our linebacker core is deep. Obviously, with Barnes going down, I know Rodrigo's back, but we've gone from deep to on at the bare bones now. He was a big player in that room.
Oh God, yeah, absolutely. Like his leadership is invaluable on this team, and he leads by example. He's the first guy in there. And he's the do-it-all guy. He's probably one of the better coverage guys at the minute, which is going to be the problem immediately going forward. But at the same time, I'm not actually worried. Not because I don't miss him. Obviously, I miss him immensely. But I have supreme confidence in the guys behind him to step up and do their job. Like, this is Jack Campbell's time to shine now. Like, Jack's been able to sort of just stay behind the scenes this year and just quietly develop and get better at his game. And it seems every single week he's just getting better and better and better. And this is what we drafted him so high in the draft for. Like, if there was ever a problem for Anzalone and he couldn't go, he needed to miss some time, Jack is going to be that guy. Like, I know we've not seen it tremendously in coverage yet, but we've seen it in the run game. We've seen it with his tackling. It's much better, and we've got a leader in there now. And I don't, worry about that lack of absence. And then you've got Rodrigo in, who was one of the best players on defense the other day. He was just so good. Like he could sit on the bench for 3 weeks and then you bring him in and he just plays like he's been playing every snap every week. I love him to death. I think he's going to be absolutely fine in that role. We've got good depth behind him. Neiman comes in and plays well. Nowaski's coming in playing well. Like these guys are ready to. All these guys have been in our system for a long time now, and the one thing is, we look so incredibly well trained. Like people used to say this about the Patriots when they were in their dynasty. Their players, they could lose players, but they could replace them very easily because the guys behind them were trained in the system, trained to do exactly what was needed of them, and it never looked really like there was a drop-off at points. And we've absorbed the loss of Barnes so far. We've absorbed the loss of Reeves-Maybin so far. We've sort of absorbed the loss of Hutch a little bit, but we've lost guys, and we're still chugging along, and we're still doing well. So. I back them to hold up in his absence, and then hopefully we'll get him back, as I say, in about 4, 5, 6 weeks, whatever. I think we'll see him back a little earlier than that. Like, it's always early estimates with these things. He's built like a brick shit house, so I've no doubt he will recover quickly, and maybe it'll be in the point if we can wrap up the 1 seed a few games in hand, then we don't need to rush him back. That's the good thing. You can just let him rest and be like, okay, no, screw it. We'll just get to the end of the season with the other guys. We'll let him rest. We'll get these guys back. We'll be fine. So it's a loss, but I'm very confident in the guys behind him to step up and do the job needed of them.
I think the thing about the injury is that when you have like a lower body leg sort of injury where you can't do any running or any sort of like fitness training, or it's hard to keep up your fitness, that's the ones that really worry me. With this sort of thing, he can keep his fitness level up. There's no reason why he should get out of game ready shape, because he should still be able to get on the treadmill and do that all the sort of thing as long as this sort of impact isn't affecting his arm. But once that's healed, he should be just back.
And it's on his weak arm as well. Well, I'd say it's weak, but neither of them are weak, but it's not on his predominant right arm, it's on his left. So I think in terms of like in games, it's going to have minimal effect on him, you would hope.
Yeah.
But I just love the thing. He went off, and then like the very next play after, Ben Neiman makes a similar tackle where he just pile drives a guy into the ground. They didn't let up. They were just like, I don't care. I've just seen that happen. Screw it. We're still going. I loved it. Like the intensity just... we've seen injuries in the past where our team's like been really deflated and you feel it out of them. This one, you're just like, no, pick it up, we go on. It's what you got to do. It's mentality you've got to have.
I loved Neiman as a thing. Like he came in midway through the preseason. In the preseason games, he really shone. He was on a couple of our 53-man roster predictions in the preseason because of the stuff he put on tape. I think through 2 of the preseason games, because I think he missed the first one. Maybe my timeline may be off, but
Beauplan did well.
Beauplan did
still knocking round.
Yeah.
Nowaski has been here last year and is here this year as well, and he's played well. Like he's helped with the Barnes stuff. So, this is like Kelvin Shepherd is so underrated as a positional coach, and him getting them ready to perform their roles in this defense. So that's
never
why.
mind that, how good is our general manager and the pro player personnel group?
Like we're missing
finding this talent that can actually come in and look really good off the bloody street.
Yeah, like we're missing 2 of our starters and our main, like one of our team captains in Reeves-Maybin, and like it's still. The unit is still, I would not call, I'm not worried about it just yet because there are still 4 guys in there who can do the job for us and potentially another who's come in. So, it's just is a testament. These our Super Bowl teams have the depth to absorb losses. We are absorbing losses so far and we're still going. It's all on the defense as well. The offense is pretty healthy.
Yeah.
The defense is having to do all this. So,
we missed Decker for 1 game. We've missed Laporta for 1 game.
Did we miss Ragnow for 1 game? Because Glasgow went into centre.
Obviously, we've missed JMO for 2.
Yeah, but
that's the extent of it.
Yeah, I don't think we've missed any of the running backs either. Have we had both running backs all season?
I think
we've had both running backs all season. We've had the quarterback all season. Like, offense has been healthy. So, like, kudos to these guys for coming in and really. But we've built good depth. That's what this first couple of years was about. Even they say the guys we've just kept hanging around the practice team for multiple years, who now are so well ingrained into the system that they can slot and play. Like having a Nowaski, we didn't have that before. Having a Neiman, we didn't have that before. We just had a load of scrub guys who played some special teams but could really offer nothing to the first team. Now these guys can offer to all departments.
Yeah, absolutely fantastic stuff. All right, let us move on. And the next bit is just a bit of, not news, but pending news, because we don't really know what's happening with it at the moment. But apparently today is the 21st day of the 21-day window for Broderick Martin, and there is as yet no news. He needs to be activated today or he is done for the season. So we are just awaiting the news as to whether he is done or whether he is back. And if he's back, I think there's now an open roster spot, because Ifeatu Melifonwu was activated from IR and then after a day put back onto IR. So just the background on this by Eric Schlitt from Pride of Detroit says that he recovered from the ankle injury which happened in the off-season. He was retained on the 53 with the hope he'd get back quickly. That didn't happen. He was put on IR to actually rest it properly. He got his ankle in good shape, had his window opened, was practicing fine, and then injured his finger in this past week. Now, the finger injury is severe enough that it requires at least another 4 games, which means he wants to go back on IR. But if you don't get activated from the first one, you'd be shut down for the year because your 21-day window would elapse and then you'd be done. They think he's going to come back, so they want to make sure he can come back. So the only way they could do it is by activating him, leaving it a day, and then putting him back on injured reserve with this finger injury. So he's going to be eligible to return from week 16 onwards, but obviously he's going to have the 21-day window from there as well. So it could be with 21 days that you miss week 16, 17, 18, and you're back for the first game of the playoffs, or that's the bye week, in which case you get even a little bit more rest and he's back for the divisional round. But Martin and Melifonwu, and 2 players that we've had high hopes for. Melifonwu came so good at the back end of last year, but this year is kind of more of the same of what we saw the first couple of years from him, with injury and just struggling to kind of get through it. And then with Broderick, it's just a real shame because last year, obviously, some people had higher hopes for him. Some more knowledgeable people were perhaps a bit more realistic on his timeline. Maybe this was the sort of year where you want to see a bit more rotational kind of rep building from him to really get into year 3 hitting the ground running. And this is obviously disrupting his progress as well. And if he shut down for the year, that really sucks for him.
Yeah, obviously you don't want him to miss these, right? This is a valuable time for him, especially as down the stretch, if we do get the 1 seed wrapped up early with a few games to spare, you've got plenty of potential reps for him to get in there and play ball under no pressure and just get to where he wants to go. So I would expect they will activate. I think you just leave it till, they've just put Iffy back on today. They've not made the corresponding move yet. So you would expect him to, I don't think they'll shut him down for you. His injury is not serious enough to keep him out for the year. I think you've just got to be flexible with your roster. I think that's why they've done it with Iffy. I don't know if Iffy's injury is worth 4 games out, but they can't afford to carry him on the main roster for maybe 2 or 3 games whilst he recovers, because, the room is very tight right now and we've got more guys to come back. So I think in Iffy's case, I'm hoping he's very healthy by the time he comes back and they can sort of just ramp him straight back in. Again, if it's for that stretch, we got 2 or 3 nice easy games at the end of the year, you should be able to get him up and going for the playoffs, which would be a massive boost for us. So, it's a pain with these guys. We've just got to get through it. We've done, we've been through it with guys before. Levi, we had to wait for 3 years for Levi until we were able to get the best out of him, but they stuck with him and eventually we got there. So I've no doubt they're going to stick with these 2. They'll keep going with these 2 and they'll just, you've just got to be patient. But for right now, we can do without them for the time being, but hopefully they're both back really soon and, contributing. So that's what we want.
Is indeed. Right, here's some of the historic stats the Lions have set, either in this game or as an accumulation ending in this game. Goff now becomes the first player in NFL history with multiple games of 400 plus passing yards, 4 plus passing touchdowns, and a perfect passer rating in the same game. Is the only player with 2 or more games like that, which just sounds like a completely made up stat. You're telling me that Tom Brady never had 2 games with 400 passing yards, 4 touchdowns, and a perfect passer rating? Are you seriously telling me that? Oh yeah, that's just Jared Goff that's done that twice. That's ridiculous. Aaron Russell Brown and Jameson Williams both achieved single game career highs in receiving yards. St. Brown 161, Jameson Williams 124. The Lions have rung off 24 straight games, including the postseason, with a rushing touchdown. That's the longest such streak in NFL history. There's no signs that's going to slow down this weekend coming. And finally, this isn't history about the Lions being number one, but it is just about this Lions team being historic, full stop. Thank you to Aaron Schatz, who created DVOA. This Lions team, through 10 games, is the third best team of all time, stretching back to 1979. Third highest DVOA percentage ever. So, to give you the context of who's above the Lions, the unbeaten Patriots team of 2007 was significantly the best team of all time. Second best team was the Washington football team Commanders Redskins team of 1991, which of course the Lions fans will remember very well because I believe that's the Washington team that beat the Lions in the NFC Championship game in 1991, if I remember rightly. So that is the company that we're keeping. The DVOA stat is very, very close to that Washington team that Detroit holds. The teams that Detroit are better than, according to this stat, the Denver Broncos of 1998 that were 10-0, the Kansas City Chiefs of 2018 that were 9-1, the Chicago Bears team of 1985 that were unbeaten by this time, last year's Baltimore Ravens, which was 7-3, which in turn was better than the Giants team of 1990, which was 10-0, and the Miami Dolphins team of 84 that was 10-0. All of these teams, the Lions DVOA stat is significantly better than. So obviously, if you don't know, DVOA is an opponent-adjusted metric. So it looks into who you're playing, the situation in terms of who you're playing, and then adjust your stats to match. So obviously, we're playing the Jags. In order to actually show a benefit from our game, considering the fact that they're as bad as they are, we really had to blow them out the water. Well, we did that, and we've continued to do that all the way through this year. We have significantly been above expectation all year round. And I mean, and so many stats that the Lions are putting up there, a lot of them offensive with the kind of scoring stats, but this team on all three levels, we've not seen the like. And it's not we've not seen the like. No Lions fan potentially has ever seen the like in living memory, because maybe you have to go back to 34 before you have a team as good in Detroit as this Lions team.
Exactly. It kind of feels like we know we're living the best days of our lives right now because, this team is just talented all over. Like, we may have the best running back pair we're ever going to see in a Lions uniform. We're going to have, we've got a wide receiver who might break Calvin's records, all of them, and he's not on a dissimilar pace to what he is at the moment. You've got probably the best offensive line we've ever had in there, in terms of efficiency, maybe the most efficient quarterback we've ever had. Defensively, we're studs everywhere, and this blueprint that Brad has done for this team is going to be used all over the NFL. Like, there are going to be lots of GMs now who are going to look at this construction and go, actually, that's the way to do it. I mean, even during Brad's tenure, you've seen teams try to rush it. You've seen Poles at Chicago try to build outside in. He thought, oh, we've got a couple of good guys in there. We've got a load of money. Let's go and pay a load of big contracts. Let's fast track this rebuild. What's happened? They're in the water now. They're paying stupid amounts of money to players who are not justifying their contracts, and they don't have the young core outside of their quarterback to build around. And they're slowly destroying him as time goes on. And that's what happens when you fast track. Brad from day one has just unwaveringly been like, it takes how long it takes. Just trust the process and build it right. And we've got the young core. We've had 3 years of just throwing out flyers on 1 year guys, seeing what we can land on, which has created a ton of depth in the team whilst drafting our superstars, and has just put us in a great position going forward. And of course, it's the culture that has really taken over here. Like, they play so hard, they play so tough, and yet they're the most well-trained, athletic unit you've ever seen. Like every dynasty has its trademark that you remember back to the great teams. You remember back to the Patriots, as I've said. They won so many Super Bowls just because they were always the best coached team. Like they had 3 or 4 bona fide game changers, like your quarterback, your tight end, your Edelman. You'd have a couple of guys on D who stood out. But outside of that, you just had 45 odd drones. But they were so well coached and just kept going and going and going. You just couldn't beat them because they played fundamentally better football than anyone else. The Chiefs dynasty has been built on their play calling ingenuity. Like it's hard to tactically beat them because they've just always got an answer to everything you throw at them. The Lions, it feels like this is going to be our defining characteristic for if we're able to win Super Bowls and go on. We simply are built tougher than everybody else. We define, we mix up finesse with fight to a level where nobody can handle us. And every week you see teams break trying to contain us. They can't go with us for 60 minutes. They just can't hang with it. And that's why this team is so good, because it's just so dominant mentally and physically that you can't hang with them. So it's no surprise they're putting up these kind of numbers. It's I dare say I don't know if it's revolutionary in the way it's been done, but it feels in the way it's been done in a market that's never been good, in a team that's been historically bad for a long time. It feels revolutionary what he's done here. And this is a revolutionary team.
It is, and long may it continue. The stretch of games we have from here on out, a couple are difficult, a couple are in the realm, not to do the indie preview before we do the indie preview, but I've never been worried about Indy. You know how high I've been on Anthony Richardson, and obviously got benched and everyone thought it was over, and then he did what he did last week. We'll talk about the rest of the slate. But that's Richardson's best performance of his career last week. It's arguable this is the worst time ever in this season, but maybe in the last 2 years to face Indianapolis. Now, we should beat them, but it feels very fun to have this test where actually they might be a team that can run and pass the ball. A great test maybe for playoff credentials. It should be a game we win, but we're going to do that. Then we're going to go into Thanksgiving. Then we're going to play the Bills. This is a nice stretch of games for us that's going to test us without being like we're going and playing Baltimore or something like that, where although they've shown some chinks in the armor, they're still, a historic team in their own ways, and it's not like I'd feel fine against the Chiefs.
Bills are better than the Ravens. Bills are better than the Ravens right now. A lot better.
I completely agree.
A lot better. But
they're just. I love the Bills because they're just so fun to watch. It's like watching us.
We're
better than them, but.
The thing is, I know people like every game is a trap game. There is no easy game in the NFL. Like any given Sunday, we've seen so many times over the years, good teams beaten by bad teams just on a bad day. What gives me confidence is our teams, and we talk about this in a minute when we go to this review. I feel like we go into games knowing exactly what our opposition is and how we've got to play them. And we give them that respect. We gave the Jags respect, believe it or not. I mean, I've been looking back through the All-22 today, and I've looked and I've been so impressed with how they approached it. And, they didn't let up. Coming back to this whole argument about us letting up on teams, but we understand how to play teams. I have no doubt that we'll have this Colts team scouted, and we will know how to play against them and what best to do. And we will treat them with the utmost respect. We will treat them like they are the 9-1 Kansas City Chiefs. We will not let this game go, because one game can cost you a 1 seed. And for us, we need that bye. With how injured our team is and with how big a stretch of games we've got coming up, like we are all go till the end of the season if we don't get that bye. We don't get another break. So we can't afford to slip up, whether it be against a 3-7 team, whether it be against a 9-1 team. You've got to treat them all with the due amount of respect. But I know this team will. I can go on Twitter and be braggadocious and run other teams down and, throw dirt at them. And people go, oh, you shouldn't underestimate them. Why? I'm a fan. Of course I can underestimate, because I know my team isn't. And I know they're going to treat everybody the same and give them the due amount of respect. So I have no worries that they are going to, perform well and give the due amount of respect to opposition. So
Just as an aside, Junie's put a really good thing in our Discord channel about Oregon clinching a Big Ten championship game spot, no matter what happens therein. And no one's realised until now.
It's the tiebreakers, because obviously Ohio State are a one-loss team who they've beaten, so they can't overtake them. They don't play Indiana, so I guess it's strength of schedule, which will be better than Indiana's strength of schedule.
Yeah, but they can still lose a
And
game
then
and Indiana move ahead of them. But it's that Ohio State can't move ahead of them and Penn State can't move ahead of them.
Well, Indy don't play Oregon, so like they'll finish top together unbeaten if Indy win this weekend. So Penn State are a one-loss team, right?
Yes.
They've lost to Ohio State. They can't get above Ohio State. Yeah, you're right. It is. The tiebreakers are really weird. So
indeed they are. But anyway,
well done, Ducks. Paul will love that.
He
well
will.
Done, Ducks.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it is, not many people in the UK have actual college teams they support. So when they do support one and they do well, it's fun to support them. As much as we rag on Ash for his Florida State love, and man, it's been fun this season. But last year was great in an absolutely different way. I mean, you couldn't have two more opposite seasons. And then for Oregon to come into the Big Ten, I'm sorry, we're doing college football now when we should be doing NFL, but for Oregon to do what they did in the Pac-12 and then to move over and everyone talking about, are they going to be able to do it? It's a different conference and yes, it's a good team, but, run heavy, play defense, and Pac-12 was so good last year and Oregon have come in and they've smashed it.
I mean, they nearly lost to Idaho and Boise at the start of the year, so their fraud allegations were well and utterly deserved.
Oh, yeah.
They've just got better as the season's gone on.
They got winning credentials. In a season where there's no obviously... There's no team going into the playoffs that should really be a big favourite to win it all. But...
Oh, God, no. I have no idea even at this point who's going to win it. I have no idea. It's gonna take a little bit more yet. I'm not going to make my predictions until the brackets are announced.
I love it. I can't wait for it. It's going to be not March Madness style, but it's going to be fun to have this much of a playoff bracket in college football. I cannot wait. Anyway, let's do Jags at Lions, and let's just go through some of the stats from this game because they make for pretty nice reading. Lions win 52-6. Goff was 24-29 for 412 and 4 touchdowns. QBR of 93.8. Perfect passer rating 158.3. Hendon Hooker in relief, 3 of 4 for 37. QBR of 86.8. Passer rating of 103.1. He looked fairly handy in relief in the 4 throws that he had, I thought. My only regret is that we didn't give him more time. Don't know if you're aware of what happened with that. I'm sure you probably saw it, but never mind. I won't go on about it too much.
Sorry, what was that?
If Goff threw one less pass, I'd have won $5,000.
Oh, that sucks.
Yeah, so when he threw that final touchdown, I was like, please just be a Gibbs running shotgun for 9 yards for a touchdown, please. Please. Man.
Should have cashed out.
Couldn't lay it out, but never mind. In the rushing game, Lions had 196 yards, including -4 from Amon-Ra St. Brown. We were led in rushing by Jared Goff, 4 carries for 21 yards. But more seriously, David Montgomery, 5 yards a carry, 15 for 75 and 2 touchdowns. And Jameer Gibbs, 11 for 69 and a touchdown. Craig Reynolds only had 2, but he matched Goff's 21. And then Vaki only had 5 for 9 yards, but I thought he looked pretty shifty and handy in there with some of the backups in the game. In the receiving game, led by Amon-Ra St. Brown, 11 of 11 for 161 and 2 touchdowns. He's on his streak again with Jared Goff. He lost it for a brief moment, but 11 for 11, is he going to drop another pass from Goff all season? I think not. I think that one drop pass is going to eat away at him. Jameson Williams, he hit his career high on only 4 catches, 124 yards on 6 targets. Jameer Gibbs did factor in this game in the receiving game, 1 of 1 for 54 yards. Not much from anyone else, but some big contributions, even with small yards. Some first downs in there from Raymond, Patrick, and Zylstra got the game kicked off, 1 of 1 for 22. On defense for the Lions, led by Jack Campbell with 9 tackles, we had 1 sack shared by Campbell and Zadarius Smith, and 3 tackles for a loss. One of those was that sack. The other 2 was Anzalone and Amik Robertson. 2 passes defended, one by Kirby Joseph, and one by Brandon Joseph, and 3 quarterback hits being the sack, and then one by Levi Onwuzurike. There was an interception for the Lions that was got by Kirby Joseph, which was an absolute beaut. We'll get to that later. Jake Bates was perfect on the day. 8 for 8, 7 extra points, 1 long field goal late. For the Jags, Mac Jones, who didn't play well, but probably wasn't the issue for the Jacksonville Jaguars. 17 of 29 for 138 and a pick. On the grounds, they were abysmal. 17 carries for 41 yards on the team, led by ETN, 12 for 27. In the receiving game, Brian Thomas led the way, 5 of 7 for 82. No one else got above 28 yards. And then on defense, Oluokun led the team with 9, no sacks. There were 3 TFLs, one by Ledbetter, one by Hines-Allen, and one by Lacey. They had 1 pass defended, that was by Ronald Darby, and 2 quarterback hits by Armstead and Hines-Allen, respectively. It was a good day in the punt game for Logan Cook. I thought he was especially good. We forced him to punt a lot. He put us in long drive situations, doing what he could. I thought the Jags special teams actually deserves a mention as the one high point of the Jags team, because you look at how our offense did and what our drive summaries were and how far we had to go for some of them. It wasn't like it was when we had the game earlier in the season where we had like 4 straight drives from within their own half. We had to go, 80 plus multiple times. So shout out Logan Cook. And 52-6. I mean, absolute domination. All 3 phases. Offense excellent. Defense just as good. I mean, I think Mac Jones had pressure in his face all the time. I mean, watching Mac Jones scramble is a beautiful thing because it does not come naturally to him.
So, the most interesting thing with Mac there, you say his stats for his passing, they don't look too bad on the face of things. But for passes within 10 yards, the short behind the line of scrimmage, 15 of 15 for 93 yards. Beyond 10 yards, he's 2 of 13 for 45 yards and an interception. Kind of just goes to show you what kind of a game that they had to play with him. His deep field passing was atrocious.
Awful, yeah.
And he had a relatively clean pocket to work with a lot of the time. These were not just, he wasn't getting pressured all the time. They were a lot of throws he got in a NFL standards clean pocket. And he was missing guys, and I thought he was absolutely awful. But in terms of the Lions, just the high take from this is just the sheer domination on every single side of this. They were relentless. They didn't let up, and this was a very good team, a very well coached team, a team in form, taking apart a team that I don't want to say it didn't care. I don't think that's very fair. This Jags defense. We talked about it during the preview show. They were on the field for 43 minutes against the Vikings. They were on the field for 40 minutes against us. They've been on the field for 83 minutes out of the last possible 120 they've played. That's going to take its toll on anybody. When you think about you've had to play the Vikings and then you've got 40 minutes against us is like 1,000 minutes playing against the Vikings. That's just the difference there. But we executed well. We were really good with our drives. We really mixed our play calling up to throw them off, which I absolutely adore about Ben and what he's been doing more recently. We did 3 keys to win this thing last week, and they nailed every single one of them to an absolute T and just took them apart with it. So, it was tremendous to see. Everybody got involved, and they were ruthless. They did what they had to, and I fully support them in doing that. There's the argument going round, you want to sit guys, you want to pull them. I will just say this because I wanted to see some of the rookie O-line in, but of course they shit canned them all on the inactive list, which I don't agree with. But this team, its mantra is to seek and destroy. It is to get on top and not let go. If you then start, because we've had several blowouts here, if you just kind of drill it into them or get to 30 points and then you get to go and have a sit down, that's how you lose a Super Bowl like the Atlanta Falcons did. You get so far in front, and then when the comeback happens and you're not playing the same intensity as you were before and the momentum gets against you, your game suddenly spirals out of control for you. Our mantra is to be on top from second one to double zeros, and you keep going at it. And it doesn't matter if you get injuries or anything. You have to instill that mentality in your team because one day you will come up against a team who can fight back. But if you are playing 60 minutes of absolutely dominating ball, you will never know if they can come back or not because you don't give them the opportunity to come back. They don't have that one big chunk play that gets them going. They don't have that one return from a kick or a punt that gets them going. They just cannot establish any rhythm whatsoever. And that is how the really good teams operate. So I really stand by his decision to do this. And I'm so glad that we ran it up. And if anything, Jacksonville should be thanking us because it's probably going to get that entire front office fired quicker rather than later. And so change can happen quicker for them. Like, too many teams are let off easy in this for playing bad. Not against us,
Yeah. Yeah, there's no let off here. There's no hiding from it. Peterson needs to go. I felt sorry for him when he was let go of Philadelphia. That felt unjust, but here he's kind of reached the end.
Balky needs to go.
Yep.
Like the GM, like the thing that was noticeable in this, they lack veterans. They lack veterans who can take the scruff of because we talked about how their defense is quite young, but we also mentioned how there's a lack of established veterans in there, really, in the grand scheme of things. The majority of their veterans come on the D line, but with us running the ball well and with us putting ourselves in comfortable situations where they couldn't really rush the passer, you take Armstead out of it, Walker out of it, Josh Allen out of it, you nullify three of their biggest vets and their biggest threats on that team. So then you get into that soft underbelly where, there's not as much experience. Oluokun didn't have his best game in the world. And then you get into that secondary that's got no leader whatsoever. So it's a badly built roster. A lot worse than I thought it was initially because you can't just have kids. It's like us. We got a lot of kids, but we've got experience around them in the right places to supplement it. So...
And that's why Carlton Davis is so underrated as a player, not just because of what he brings to the field, but what he brings to that room overall. We didn't have someone like that in there, and
we've not had a vet cornerback one for years. You think of all the guys who've come here
since
and failed.
Since Slay.
Yeah. That's basically very honest. 6 years ago, and it's been our Achilles heel ever since. But we've got him in there now, and we've got the right amount of kids, and it's just.
Sorry, we had Desmond Trufant. No, up.
Well, we did when his hamstring wasn't all paper mache'd, but...
Oh, that happened way before he got here. Anyway, never mind. It's a fair point, though. I back that wholeheartedly. The most dangerous of animals is that which is wounded because they will attack, they will bite. And you need to not only fear that animal, but put it out of its misery, put a bolt through its head. And... when you've got your foot on the throat of someone, some teams will call mercy. We shove it down. We put our foot on, choke these teams. And sorry about the imagery, but it's fucking beautiful in practice.
And in fairness to the Jags did try.
Oh, they didn't give up.
The Jags did try. And they had several plays where you could see the mismatch where they could get at us. But the trouble is we just kept adapting to them. Like, it was just so beautiful to see. Like, when we had a couple of bad plays, we adapted what we did and they couldn't deal with it. So, I don't think... They're not a hopeless case there in Jacksonville. Like, a new coach going there has a lot of young talent to work with and he's got a lot of solid areas to work with. He just needs to get the balance right, and he just needs to reset it a little bit. And they just need to reset the culture. Like I was listening to that one we got emailed. We got emailed that Jags podcast, that old Lambert. I was listening to him, and it's like he said a lot of good points just about how the culture's not quite right there. Peterson's soft spoken. He's not like Dan. Like when the chips are down, sometimes you need someone who's just going to rally you up a little bit. He's not that kind of coach.
Yeah.
And it's kind of showing with them. They've kind of checked out from him a bit, but they still are trying to play. Is their problem at the minute?
Yeah, I think their scouting department is good, and I think their roster construction is bad.
Well, yeah.
Like they definitely draft well, because you have a look and ETN's a damn good player. I know that obviously he got overtaken by Tank Bigsby. Well, they drafted him as well. That's 2 good running backs you got there. Use them a bit better in tandem as opposed to just trying to go with one or the other. But fine. Brian Thomas is clearly a stud. Evan Ingram was actually a really good pickup. I think he's one of the better tight ends in the league. I think he does a good job for them. Brenton Strange, for all we laughed when he was taken as high as he was, I think has been a relatively good pick.
That linebacker core has been drafted by. I thought Ventrell Miller was really good.
Ventrell Miller was fantastic.
I loved Ventrell Miller in this game.
Andre Cisco was really good.
Especially when he chased down Gibbs, like the hustle he showed to chase down Gibbs on that really long one. Like when he duped 2 or 3 guys. Like, this is what I mean. There is a good platform there for a new head coach to work with.
And I would not very well be a worst to first sort of team next year, maybe.
If you get a good free agency budget and you are able to supplement the right vets in and have a good draft, then like in year 1, you could be competitive. Not a world beater, but you could be competitive. In year 2, you could make waves. That should be I know it's with Shad Khan there and everything, but take the ownership out of it. That is an attractive job.
Yeah. 100%.
They just need they need to get the right management structure in. They need a GM who is competent. Like, that's been their problem for years, is the GM's not quite been there. They've had some talented players. The head coach has not been too bad in some cases, but they've just never had the GM to create that roster to really go the distance.
I'll tell you what, the only really major downside that this team has structurally, apart from the owner, the owners are part of this, they only have 6 or 7 home games a season. And if you're a head coach who's like, I want to eke every percentage I can out of this, the fact that they play 2 games in London back to back doesn't help you. I'm sorry, but like, having gone to America and having gone to the games over here, the games over here are fun in a very different way, and everyone says it's an interesting atmosphere. It's a good atmosphere, but not for the home team. It's a good atmosphere generally, but it's so different. Like when you have Ford Field being as loud as it is and being extremely partisan, and there's only a token amount of away fans in the stands, or when we go away and we're making ourselves heard, and it's a surprise that you can hear the Jared Goff chants in Arrowhead or wherever we're going. All of this makes a difference. You go to London, the team isn't supporting you. Not really. Maybe because the Jags have been so often, they've got maybe 15 to 20% of the fans in there now, but they don't get themselves heard like you do at home. It makes a difference. And so when a head coach goes in there, he knows he's only getting 6 or 7 games a year at home. That sucks. That's just not good for a winning franchise. So you need to have someone who's willing to accept that. And I don't know whether someone who's looking, let's say, for the best opportunity to come along, not thinking of anyone in particular, that might not be the thing which is attracting you to the job.
No. But I think certainly it's not a bad opportunity. There's only 32 NFL jobs,
but structurally they're set up well personnel.
Yeah. I think if you can get the right GM head coach combo there, you've got a chance to reset now. You've got a chance to pair 2 guys who have the same. Again, I think a lot of teams will do this in future. I know we technically put Brad and Dan together, but at their core, they have the same philosophy.
Yeah.
Brad has the brains. Dan has brains as well, but Dan has the philosophy he has the culture. And Brad has talent identification. And you put talent identification and culture together, you make a very good football team.
Yeah. At the end of the day, you need an emotionally intelligent owner who can make decisions on the basis of the personalities that the people are that you're hiring, and you need a football person to advise you on whether they're actually good at their job.
That also
Chris
seems
Spielman,
like a problem.
Sheila Hamp.
That also seems like a problem the Jags have had. Not enough football people around. Shad Khan is not a football person, and there are a lot of businessmen. There are a lot of businessmen there, and not a lot. The best things the Lions did was bring their football guys in to play and create a football team, and that is what they need to do. They need to get a GM who will bring in football players and create a football team.
I can't speak to the financial performance of the team. I am willing to bet a heck of a lot of money the merchandise sales for the Lions have gone through the roof because this team is winning games and people want to rep even more than they did before. So if you're running it as a business, try and win. Get football guys.
And the Jags have the international market in London to make money. So you will sell a lot of things in London if you're a good team as well. So, let's just say the platform is there for them. And I saw enough. I know they got blown out, but I still saw enough to say that they're not a lost cause.
Oh, I'd
They're
rather.
just they're just they're just led badly right now.
I know that this is like a silly take in terms of what they do differently and how big the market is and whatever. The Jags are so much of a better prospect to be a head coach of than the Dallas Cowboys. And it's hilarious. Or the Jets.
Or the Jets.
These big market teams who are just like, yeah, we're just milking our fans. Fuck this team.
Jacksonville,
so
you can
delicious.
go. Jacksonville, you've not got fan base pressure. Well, you do, but you don't have the same sort of pressure that going to the Cowboys does.
Yeah.
You can quietly do your job there.
Yeah. Right, I'm going to do the drive summaries, but I'm going to do these in just two big stints for 1/2 each and just get through it quickly.
Well, I would say, can we do... I've gone back through the all 22 and made notes for the first half, so can we do the first half like bit by bit and then just run through the second half?
Sure.
I wanted to sort of have a little bit of a... Because that's when they were competitive. I just wanted to have a little closer look at it and made a few notes.
Absolutely. Okay.
Believe it or not, in a 52-6 game, I do have gripes coming out. I have multiple gripes coming out this game. So,
All right.
But I just wanted to have a look at it and just see what we did so well.
No. So I'll go to 14-3, and then at the half it was 28-6. So that's about 50-50 for the first half. We'll talk about that, and then we'll go through the second half. All right. So, very briefly, actually, we didn't talk inactives. So, the Lions obviously missed out with Laporte. The other one I just found interesting was Al-Qadim Mohammed, who we signed to the active roster. We haven't waived him, which is what we did when people were zigzagging. They clearly think he's good enough to be on the roster, at least for some level. But we made him inactive. Zadarius Smith's in. He seems to be the person missing out. I think a lot of people would have thought it would have been James Houston that missed out. But he played so well the previous week, and so he made the team, and Al-Qadim didn't.
And then they didn't play him in this one, which is one of my gripes. So, yeah, but it's out of the inactives, the ones I'm starting to have troubles with is the offensive line.
Yeah.
Sorsdale should not be inactive. Like, I would, because I would hold Broderick to account. This is Broderick's second year, and if Broderick was fit and healthy, I would expect him to be on the game day roster at this point, even as a later pick from last year. He's a development player like Sorsdale is. This is the same standard I would be holding Martin to right now. I wouldn't want him still to be inactive in there. I'm concerned because for us, like I was saying in Discord earlier, our offensive line is at a point we, in an ideal world, need to replace Seidler this year. We need to replace Glasgow the year after when his contract's winding down. And then we've got to look at Taylor and Frank, depending on how Frank's health is and how Taylor's doing as he gets a little bit older and you're looking on there. But you're hoping you can replace one guy a year. And going into Sorsdale's year 3, you'd be hoping that was when he'd be coming into the team and replacing Zeitler at guard. I mean, I'd prefer him at tackle, but they'd want him at guard, so you're adjusting. I would love to have had Mahogany out there this year to get some valuable reps as well. So, like this starts to mess with our O-line timeline if he doesn't get going soon. So,
yeah.
But I feel like is there no one else that could, like, in case of a blowout, having your rookie O-lineman out there would be great to go and get them some reps. I think at some point we've got to look at these games and not overlook them, but like the Colts. I'd have at least one of them on in case you can get in front of the Colts and you can rest guys again. Because with all due respect to Nisa and the likes, I'd rather the rookies be out there than them. So,
yeah.
But that's the gripe I've got with that at the minute with the inactives.
No, that's fair. I totally see that. Right, let's get on with this. Detroit won the toss and they elected to defer. I don't think they've done that in the last year and a half. Whenever they win the toss, they seem to take the ball. So, interesting decision to reflect on, perhaps. So, Jacksonville start off. 2nd and 6 play action crosser to Evan Ingram. Really nice tackle by Alex Anzalone to keep it for 5 on 3rd and 1. They threw it at the sticks, so a 1-yard gain. Evan Ingram, did he get there? Not 100% certain, but they gave it to him. Subsequent 2nd and 5, quick pass to Brenton Strange. This was a really big hit by Brian Branch. It wasn't that big hit by Brian Branch early. There was actually one before that. It was a really nice hit by Branch to stop him for 7. Still a first down, though. 1st and 10, play action pass. Anzalone's right in Mac's face, but he manages to throw it just for a completion to Brian Thomas for a gain of 2. I don't know how Anzalone doesn't pick this ball off. Like, it literally just whistles past his arms. But if Anzalone gets a little hand on that, he's coming down with that ball. Really nice rep by Anzalone. Good hit by Arnold on Thomas on that completion as well. 2nd and 8. Lovely tackle by Malcolm Rodriguez. And then on 3rd and 8, the scramble by Mac for 5. On 4th and 3, they go for a 59-yarder, which is good. Absolutely drilled. Really nice kick. Jags got 3-0. Detroit on their first possession, they go to work. Goff with a play-action scramble throw to Zylstra for 22 yards down the near sideline. 2nd and 4, incredible run by Monty for 5 yards. He gets contacted behind the line, keeps his feet, drives them, manages to get 5 when it could have gone for -1. And then by Monty for 9 yards, again, just drives those feet. When he could get 2, he gets 6. When he could get 5, he gets 10. When he could get -1, it's 4. The man's an absolute machine. 1st and 5, subsequently, Goff play action turfs it after Walker blows it up. First of 2 such instances early on. Converts on a quick slant to Amon Russell Brown for 1st and goal from the 7. And then a Monty run for 5 to the 2, 2nd and goal from there. And a Goff handoff from shotgun, Monty with a 2-yard touchdown run. Completely untouched. P80's good, and 7-3. Why don't I stop here and just go drive by drive for each team, man? What did you think on those first couple of possessions for each team, defense and then on offense?
All right, how far did you get?
Jags and Detroit first possession each.
Okay, so with the Jags first possession, and this is where I mentioned earlier, I like how they approached this game, the Jags. You see on that first drive, first play, it's a motion sweep. You know, trying to get outside the tackles, trying to get the ball wide. They didn't attempt to run down our interior. They realized that's a dead end for a lot of teams. I liked how they were getting out to the perimeter. They were running outside the tackles. The ball, as you mentioned, was coming out quick, trying to negate any pressure coming from the pass rush. You know, with Houston and Rodrigo, when they made that tackle on the run, you know, they had the line block out to the right, and then they had Etienne cut blocking out to the left. They were trying to use misdirection. They were getting the offensive line moving. It was a really good piece of play by Houston to force him back into Rodrigo. I loved the play from those two to hold that edge up, because it could have gone for a big one if Rodrigo didn't get that. Ultimately, it comes up short, but I like how Jacksonville thought. They came out with a game plan to try and get around our interior, and, you know, kudos to us. We stood up to it, but, you know, the Jags just didn't come out and just like try and run it down the gut twice, try and throw it and then punt it away. Like they understood the assignment for this one, but we just played really well. For our first drive, again, I like what we did. Their strength and the one against the Vikings was their linebackers coming up to plug the gaps against the run game. They were so good. Like Devin Lloyd had 18 tackles in that last game. You know, Minnesota just tried to keep running it and running it and running it and break them down. We came up and we passed the first 2 times that we did this, you know, and we softened that box. I don't think they were expecting that. You know, they weren't expecting the tight end to leak out, Goff to roll out and find him. We pass it again, and we kept them guessing, because then the linebackers just have to back off a little bit. And then you give it to Monty. You get a couple of good runs out of Monty. And by the way, I think Tyson Campbell's a dirty bastard because he tried to rip Monty's arm off. He pulled him down, dragged it back. He could have broke Monty's arm. And no one's talking about this. Everyone's talking about how dirty our players are. But I thought that was a really nasty play by him. I was worried when Monty got dragged down like that. But
Gibbs went down with injury early as well, actually.
Yeah,
I didn't think that was entirely legit too.
No, it wasn't. Tyson had an awful game, but he tried to rag him down by his arm, and I did not agree with that. Oh, he could have really hurt him. But anywho, I like how we came out with the pass first. We run the ball, established the run. We're playing well. Then we kind of get into the red zone. We have a couple of plays where Devin Lloyd comes up and he stuffs a run that came from Gibbs, I think it was, between the right guard, the right tackle. They're able to get us into a 2nd and 10. Then the pass rush comes in. Walker absolutely dominated Decker on one where Goff was scrambling around. He just threw him out the way. The pass rush came. Goff had to throw it away. You're down to 3rd down. You've had a couple of bad plays, and this is where I like it. We adjusted. We used Amon-Ra, and I don't know what they were doing against Amon-Ra in this game. They were sitting off him, but on this one, like where he got the big conversion to get it down into the 10-yard line, he was He bumped Tyson Campbell and then just separated from him. It was so easy. It got the conversion we needed. We just kept mixing the plays up when they tried to get on top of us. And then the blocking from the last two blocks to get in the end zone for us. I posted it in Discord earlier. Amon-Ra's block, on the Monty run down to about the 2 or 3 or whatever it was. Amon-Ra comes across the formation, stacks the corner onto the safety, creates a rushing lane to go through. And then for the touchdown run, I think it's Brock Wright absolutely nails Devin Lloyd. He comes across on the motion block as well. Monty just walks in. Like, it was so well practiced, the technique, the blocking. I love the way we went out there and we dominated them. And every time it looked like they were getting a foothold, we just kept switching the script up and kept that defense guessing, and they couldn't deal with us. So, like the first 2 drives, they were just tone setters. They tried something different when they came out. They got a few yards, but ultimately we stopped it pretty quickly, and they had to rely on a massive ass field goal. I don't worry about those. I'm giving away 55 odd yard field goals. I don't really care because they're not going to hit them all the time. But then our drive was really good. So I just thought it was a tone setter early on. And as I liked how we just came out and passed them and opened the run up for ourselves.
I mean, the thing is, when they take a 59-yarder, it's probably 50-50 at best. And if they miss, we start at our 49-yard line. Like,
exactly.
It's incredible.
I thought it was brave from Pedersen, to be fair. He knows they needed points. Like, punting's not an option. So I do admire him having the stones to go from that. And Cam Little is a damn good kicker.
Oh, yeah. Their special teams are legitimately good. I thought that... I'll come on to punts. Their punt and their punt coverage was great. And Cam Little's fantastic. So what else do you want from a special teams unit? Like, they backed up what I saw on tape in the game previous to that I watched. But anyway, I'll do the next 2 drives, 1 drive for each team. And then I'm just going to pop off for another one of these. Okay. So Jacksonville start off 7-3 down, and Mack with a play action throw to Brian Thomas. Amazing hit by Brian Branch. This is the one that you've seen on tape. It's not unlike the one that he got ejected for in the previous game. He is going like an absolute missile, leads entirely with the shoulder. This time he happens to be about 1.5 yards closer to the man that he's hitting, which means he's not hitting him egregiously late, but also it means he's able to actually pinpoint exactly where he wants to hit him a bit more. This is the thing about where intention almost doesn't matter. Where are you in relation to the man that you're hitting? How far away do you do it? And that means the difference in how you're launching into him. Because he's so close to him, when he does launch into him, he's hitting him in the right place with the right technique. You can hear him hit the ground. It's a beautiful hit. It's not unnecessarily rough. It's perfectly fucking rough. That was a gain of 9, unfortunately. However, we still get out of dodge. 2nd and 1 stretch play, hit by Kirby for no gain against Travis Etienne. And then on 3rd and 1, hands it off. Incredible tackle by Alex Anzalone for 1. So they're on 4th and 2, and they have to punt it this time from their own half. Punt to our 7-yard line, and Khalif is hit as he's catching the ball by Daniel Thomas. Now, Thomas, he's hitting him as Khalif's catching the ball. If it's 1/4 of a second earlier, that's fair catch, or not fair catch interference, but it would be fair. It would be catch interference, sorry, because he would have hit him before they got the ball. So the play's timed perfectly by their punt coverage, which is why I'm waxing lyrical about this. They really set their own tone with that play, and of course we now have to go 93 yards. So that was quite something. But for Branch to make that hit to keep him to only 9, and then from 2nd and 1, us to force them to punt. Brilliant start after we go up 7-3, and our offense banks up even to needing to go 93 yards. So first 2 plays go for 7 yards. On 3rd and 3, quick out, 5 and out to Amon-Ra St. Brown for 5. He's got 2 yards of separation. I mean, like Ant said in the previous set, they're just sitting off him. It's too easy. 2nd down and 10, Goff play action throw to Amon-Ra St. Brown on the out route. It was a 15 and out this time instead of a 5, and then he takes it for another 3 against Ronald Darby, who just doesn't want any of that smoke. 2nd down and 10 again on the next set. Incredible run by Gibbs, keeping his feet, spinning around, shuffling, beating people, gets down for 9 yards. Then 3rd and 1. Throw to JMO with nice PBU, actually. One of the good plays in coverage they had in the entire game by Ronald Darby. On 4th and 1, though,
Huh?
One of
It wasn't a pass breakup.
was it not?
No. He threw it in front of JMO. JMO got a hand on it. It was a bad throw, in fairness.
Oh,
He
okay.
had separation on it. But it hit JMO's first hand. He was 2 yards in front of the DB.
Beg your pardon. 4th and 1. One of the few times we sneak Goff all year, but no stopping that with our offensive line. Get the 2, get the conversion around midfield. 1st and 10, Goff play action throw to Jamie on a shallow crosser for 24. The Jags players picked each other. I know that we did a little trickery there, but
That's on JMO. I love that play from JMO.
absolutely brilliant.
That's
Yeah. And then, so we'll get there. You're going to go through your thing anyway. I know it. So after the 24-yarder, they're absolutely reeling. We're at the 27, and Gibbs runs off left tackle for 23 to the Jags for incredible explosion. Great blocking by the Lions to spring in for that. Really looked like it was going to go all the way, but actually I think it was Andre Cisco, but you might correct me, with a good tackle to stop him getting in. And then on 1st down and goal from the 4, run by Gibbs for 3. Again, a nice tackle by Cisco. 2nd down and goal from the 1. Gibbs runs into his own offensive line up the middle and then sees plenty of room to the outside. So just goes, as was very well said on the actual coverage. I thought the commentary, by the way, was fantastic in this game. Rare to say, but there we go. Gibbs says, I'm faster than you, and gets in for 6. PAT's good as well. And, I mean, Jake Bates' PATs have gone from 0 to hero, slicing every one. Now, every single one of his kicks is an absolute beaut down the middle and hammered home. So, Lions up 14-3. And Ant, I'll hand over to you. Take the piss all you want while I go and get another drink. I'm sure you will.
Excuse me. So, yeah, this is where. So we start with the Jags second drive first, and this is where I'm looking, and this is where the problems in their team fundamentally are at this moment in time. These are just lapses of concentration where they should be able to get things in those. So obviously, as Matt said, first play, you get 9 yards with Evan Ingram. Fantastic tackle from Brian Branch, perfectly well executed, and the type of hit that makes you feel it. This is, you want to beat the Lions, you've got to spend 60 minutes taking these types of hits off our guys, but still, that's a good start for you. 9 yards, you need 1 more yard. So what do? Travis Etienne, on that second run, when he got taken down by Kirby Joseph, right, man, why are you running out wide? He had a perfect block inside from Brandon Scherf. He just had to cut back inside, get a yard, reset the chains. That is what a team should do. They should get the yard, go again. No, he tries to get to the outside. He wants more. And sometimes more is less. If you go looking for more and you don't get it, that's just a little judgment call mistake there from them. When you're already down a score, you just want to get that first down. You want to keep moving the chains. Etienne doesn't, and it's a really good tackle from Kirby, but it puts them then at 3rd and 2. So it takes you back a little bit. You lose that momentum. You've got an opportunity. And then Ezra Cleveland gets wrecked by Alex Anzalone. It's a really good play by Alex Anzalone. He gets past Cleveland, who does not have a blocking assignment. Alex comes in a little later, just brushes past him, tackle, short of the sticks. Like, that's 1 blown O-line assignment and 1 bad mistake from the running back in terms of the yardage he should get. And that's drive dead. That's the difference between good teams and bad teams. Etienne was looking for a home run call when he should have been looking for a yard. But it's great from the Lions. Great stand-up, great execution from them. They made them pay for their bad mistakes. But us, I really like what we did on the next drive. And again, why has Amon-Ra got 2 such easy catches? The first one, it's just a little bump and run. He's got 2 yards. The second one, as Matt said, it's an out route. Like, it's just a little out route, and the DB makes no attempt to stop him. That gets you your first down. That gets us away from our end zone, and then you're in trouble. Like you say, Gibbs with the good run there. J-Mo could have housed one if the throw would have been a little bit more accurate to him. But then that J-Mo's big catch, what I love so much about this, you watch him, he stood on the line of scrimmage, the line is pulling to the right. So all the linebackers are coming across to the right with them to mirror what they're doing. J-Mo's out there in the slot on the right-hand side, waits, he sees Oluokun coming, puts the hammer on, runs right past him. So what does Martin do, who's covering him? He runs right into his own player. That is manipulation. That is J-Mo seeing the field, manipulating it. He's free then. The two guys run into one another. He's got all the time in the world. He gets to the perimeter, big 24-yard catch and carry. That's smart from JMO. He's seeing the field well. He's manipulating the field with his speed. So that is really positive there from us. And then you just go back. Once you've got your big plays, you go back to running the ball well. Gibbs, again, immaculately blocked. He gets one-on-one with Tyson Campbell, who, again, overcommits. He's able to power, get extra yards. It's a good saving tackle. But then you come to the touchdown run. And this is what I love about Gibbs. He runs into Brock Wright, trying to run down the middle. And whereas a lot of guys that get stuffed there, he spins out, runs out wide, takes 4 defenders for a spin, reaches the end. It's great contact balance. It's great play from him. Like, I just love everything about this drive for us, just how we were just able to manipulate back. And again, we threw it a lot to start with. We keep throwing them off. They think we're going to try and run our way out of our own red zone. No, we pass it, we go to the air, we take advantage of their weak coverage, and then we start to run the ball. It just, they were not able to handle it, and it was just well done all the way. I loved it all.
Yeah, that's one of the benefits of having these condensed formations in those goal line sets, because when you have someone like JMO, when you have someone like Gibbs, who can just, they have that raw speed, when you do have something like getting bottled up, trying to go up the gut, all of their defenders are crashing down on that. If they aren't coming round the corner trying to get in from behind, you're just going to be able to get that edge when you actually manage to keep your feet. It's an underrated thing because it's only going to happen 5 to 10% of the time. But when it happens, you're walking in for a touchdown. And I say relatively walking in. Obviously, he's busting a gut trying to get there. But he's just faster than them. And when you're faster than them, you want to get those advantageous situations where you're equal with the defender. Because from that start, they have no chance. And that's what that play provided him. It wasn't drawn up that way. He just wanted to pile him through the middle. It didn't work. But both with Monty and Gibbs, one of the underrated things about the two of them is that they have fantastic contact balance and the contact with his own man. But who cares? Like, the number of times they were able to keep their feet in this game was unbelievable. That's not anything to do with the Jags. It's not anything to do with their effort or wrapping up. The coverage, actually, Haaland said, their tackling has been poor. And I just don't agree. The tackling was fine. Our guys were just better.
Yeah, it's all about your contact. That's why you see them running through all those, structures when they're trying to keep contact with the ball and that.
It's why you pick it out when you do college tape and you're like, this guy has good contact. It's why you pick it out in the first place. Javonte Williams, why we all loved him in the drafts, because he never went down.
No.
You can't.
It's just, you put your body in a position where you don't get too low, so you go down, you just, you run stout, you have good feet, and then you have speed to back it up. And you've just... I don't know. It's just IQ with some guys. It's just rare IQ you have with them, and that's why he's so valuable to us.
Yeah, let's do one more drive for each team. Jags get to 2nd and 9 and false start. 2nd and 14 is thrown incomplete, poor throw. 3rd and 14, SEN with the running back screen. It's a poorly designed play, telegraphed, but Amik Robertson, to his credit, sees it coming all the way and hits ETN before he's even had time to look around. That's for a loss of -3. That leaves them with a 4th and 17. So, of course, they're punting to our 21, but this time Khalif makes the first man miss and gets a 15-yard return to our 36. One of our shorter fields in this game. And the Lions start up with a 1st and 10 pass to Amon-Ra St. Brown, and we have the hook and ladder here to JMO for 11. Now, the Lions actually get a bit unlucky with this play, I think, because it's built to go to the house, and I think if you get one block down the field, you get it, but actually it was fairly well covered by the Jags in the end. First down, nonetheless, though. Monty goes up the middle for 11, just so hard to bring down, as I say, with the contact balance. And again up the middle for 8, and then again up the middle for 5. Absolutely relentless. And then go for the play action low throw to Amon-Ra for a gain of 12 to the Jags 17. Now, we were talking about it, me and Ash, on the live coverage. It's designed that way, that low throw, because you're worried about there being tight coverage and you want it to be a throw that only your guy can get. But Amon-Ra's got about 4 or 5 yards of separation on that low catch. And in the end, it's just not a great throw by Goff that Amon-Ra saves in the end. It's only maybe like a few degrees of separation off in the throw, but it makes a big difference. It's picking it off his ankles instead of maybe by his knees, which would have just been a little bit easier. But hey, We move. Amon-Ra made the best of it into the red zone. Monty short off the right-hand side for 6. 2nd and 4. And a Goff play-action scramble for 5 yards and 1st and goal from the 6. And then 1st down and goal from there. Monty handoff and shotgun again. Not unlike the first touchdown we have. And runs in for the touchdown. So Andre Cisco, I think it was, that stopped him short by 1 yard, and Sewell, having blocked his heart out to get him to that point, sees him a yard short and just goes, I'm going full bulldozer here, and shoves Monty over the line. It's one of the most beautiful plays of the year. It's up there with me as a Lions fan with the Craig Reynolds block from last year of just effectiveness. Absolutely beautiful. PAT is good. Lions up 21-3, and I throw it to you.
Yeah, I tweeted out the gif of Samwise carrying Frodo up Mount Doom, and that's what it kind of felt like. It's like, I can't carry it for you, but I can take you with me. But it's like, I'll just take the whole damn thing. No, and again, this was just domination on both sides of the ball. I loved it. Like the Jags, starting the Jags' 3rd drive, Rodrigo makes the run stop. He rinses Everett Cleveland. Ezra Cleveland is 100 pounds heavier than Emrod. That you see them lock up together and he instantly gets off the block, makes the tackle, sets the tone. I love Rodrigo so much. Like, plays like this are why I have no problems with him being in this team. He is so good against the run, especially against these bigger guys. But you get just 1 yard on there. You've already got them 2nd and 9. Like I say, then they jump. They're well back to 2nd and 14, and then you can go at them. Like, Mac has a horrible throw to the middle of nowhere in a clean pocket for the 3rd down. And then that screen, like, if Brandon Scherf misses his block, and I've looked back at it and he's too slow making his block. If Amik gets under his block, he's meant to be there a second. If he's there a second earlier, that thing springs. It's just bad timing. I think Mac Jones throws it too quickly because he's under pressure. I think he throws it too quick. Scherf doesn't have time to get out there. Amik just comes on it like a heat-seeking missile, but this was just the intensity we played. We didn't let them have anything. They just made some very minor technical mistakes, and we just punished everything that they did. And their punt again, like, no mistake goes unpunished with those. For us, this is where I love the ingenuity, the hook and ladder. Like, no one starts a drive with a hook and ladder. Right, like you get the hook and ladder out when you're in the red zone, you're trying to create a bit of space, or you're getting down on there, not while you're in your own half, but that completely throws them. And you're right, and this is where one of my gripes comes in here. Brock Wright misses his block on that. That gets housed by JMO if Brock Wright hits his block, and that's a shame. And that is pertinent because I'll come back there in a minute. But what goes to show after this is just how dominant the Lions' offensive line was. So Monty's runs. So Monty took a handoff at the Lions 42. He did not get touched till the Jags 45. Sewell took out a DT and a linebacker on that drive in one go while everyone else is double blocking. On the very next play, Monty gets the handoff at the Lions 47. He's not touched till the Jags 36. And then he's brought down at the 35. And this is another one. He would have housed that. Brock Wright missed another block on this one, on Ventrell Miller. It was such a well-designed play that he was just about to sneak through. Ventrell Miller makes the tackle. Brock Wright misses the block on it. The very next one, it's a very short one. Brock Wright misses a 3rd block on the same drive. This is such a well-designed play. They all come across to the left. JMO and Amon-Ra come across from the right to make their blocks on their guys. Brock screws up his block on the D-line. There is a red carpet for Monty to go and house this thing if he makes that block. He misses 3 on one drive. And when Dan said, how could we be better on offense? And he's like, well, we've scored on every drive, but we could maybe finish drives 4 or 5 plays quicker. I think he's referring to this drive because with a couple of blocks, there's 3 opportunities to house this thing before we actually did. But like I said, then you get the Amon-Ra easy gain, and then you've just got the domination to get Monty over the line for the touchdown. Penei Sewell pancakes Arik Armstead, and then he gets up and he carries his running back over the line. That is just the sheer grit and determination he plays with. A pancake is not enough. Like he's straight back up on his feet and is across. That is what aggressive, consistently aggressive teams do, who just do not let up on you. Like say on that drive, he made a run block where he got two different guys. Then he's pancaking a guy taking it. That's why he's so damn good. They're just relentless. And I just loved everything about this. Again, the two drives, it was not letting up. But Brock Wright, you've got to be better. You missed three run blocks on one drive where you could have done it better. So I'm sorry, it was noticeable on tape. Got to get them right.
Just some breaking news. Ashley Soden's in the chat doing his job. He's alerted me to a tweet from Aaron Wilson saying that the Lions have activated defensive tackle Broderick Martin from injured reserve, the last possible moment. But he is back in the building and hopefully he will be contributing highly from here on out because we both have high hopes for him and what he can be next season and he needs the reps. So great news coming out of the Lions in these last few minutes. All right, let's get on with this. So 21-3 as it is at the moment. Next two drives coming up. Jags, play action throw to ETN for 8. Really good tackle by Carlton Davis, but then a handoff to ETN for 3 for their first down in 3 drives. Play action throw to Jones, overthrown. Just poor. Ant talked about his poor throwing from 10 yards plus. I mean, it was way out there. 2nd down and 10. Mack throwing towards Gabe Davis way behind the target. And then again deep to Thomas into double coverage out of bounds. I mean, if it wasn't out of bounds, it would have been a bad throw anyway. End up having to punt to the Detroit 16 and fair court this time instead of risking another special teams hit. I mean, it would have been poor if he hadn't done that. So well done to Khalif for not risking that. So Detroit have got to go 84 yards. They did it. Of course they did it. And almost did it in one. Goff with a lovely throw to Gibbs in the flat on time, just as he's building up speed. So in terms of chemistry, it's an underrated thing, but Gibbs is able to build up that acceleration before he gets the ball. Goff swings it out on time to the point where Gibbs can just take it and run. The blocking knows that this is going to happen and so gets out there in front and Gibbs can just walk up there for 54 yards. Ventrell Miller's tackle is a little ankle tap and he is so far away from Gibbs when he makes this play. It's going for 6 if he doesn't do it. And I know there's a defender in front of Gibbs when Ventrell makes his tackle. That defender doesn't have a hope in hell if Gibbs is able to actually break it to the near side as the broadcast coverage saw it. So Miller saved 6, or he did delay the 6, but fantastic tackle. He deserves a shout out for it. That was at the Jacksonville 30 after a gain of 54 yards. Subsequently, 3rd and 7, Goff to Amon-Ra Brown on a shallow crosser, just behind the cornerback on an on-time throw. There's no safety help on that crosser, and so it's a 27-yard touchdown. PAT is good. Lions up 28-3. The timing on that throw to Amon-Ra Brown, it cannot be understated how good that is by both players. Because if Goff gets that wrong like he did for the Sam Laporta pick last week, that could be coming back for 6. The accuracy you need for that throw. And to be underrated, how confident you have to be in your own ability to put that on a dime. And then for Amon-Ra to know and have the confidence in Goff to be able to run that route behind the DB, absolutely incredible.
Yeah, I think, yeah. I'll tell you in a minute, but I think what makes it even better is I think he baits the DB into going for it because Campbell commits to try and intercept it, but it's just out his reach. But he commits, and there's no one with Amon-Ra. So I think that's perfect manipulation from Goff there. I don't know if I'm right, but it just looked like it was. But again, you just go back to themes of domination on these two. There was one I loved on that Jags drive. Evan Ingram tried to block Jack Campbell. He run into him at full speed. Campbell just bounced right off him and made a tackle on Travis Etienne. But this is where the pressure started to come good. Like you say, Jones made 2 bad throws. First it was Anzalone, then it was Pascal and Aleem. They both had inside stunts that forced him to throw it away. And then Mac on the last one, he had that awful throw into double coverage, which he, luckily for him, went out of bounds. But it's like, mate, why are you making that throw? That is... And again, listening to this Jags guy earlier, who was like, that's a problem that Trevor's had as well. They're not trying to get the easy yards. They're trying to play hero ball sometimes. But again, it was a good match there. They were just getting nothing. He was having to hoik it downfield and nothing there. But our drive again, you look how well executed these drives are. You say the swing passes out to Gibbs, he's fully speed. But who's just gone out in motion before him that side? JMO. JMO's in motion coming across. Gibbs is in motion going across. JMO's block to spring him is great. That's how Gibbs gets so many yards. Once again, it's Jameson Williams proving his worth to this team, springing his teammate, making the block on the edge, and Gibbs can just go. And I say it was a fantastic tackle from Ventrell Miller. That is the hustle you want to see from your rookies. And it was, it was a shame. Now I have to be negative again. The two plays after that, we tried to run it. Brock Wright is responsible for both of them again. The first one, he gets turned round and he's not able to make his block properly. Maybe there's a little argument to say that, yeah, not entirely his fault, but he's meant to be making the block where he gets stuffed. And the second one, Trayvon Walker ragdolls him. I think Monty's meant to cut back inside on a block and he just gets shut straight off him. And so he has to go outside. There's no gain for it. So again, just looking at little things, Brock had a really rough game. That is all I'm going to say when it came to his blocking. But then after that, you don't let it get you down. The manipulation from Goff on that Amon-Ra throw was just tremendous. Again, Amon-Ra had Tyson Campbell on toast this entire game. He's going to probably get benched next week, or he should, for this performance. But it's just so well placed. And you can see Campbell so desperately, because he knows he's beaten. I think he knows he's beaten. He knows if Amon-Ra catches it, he's not getting after him. So he makes a desperation dive and Amon-Ra can just house it. It's just so easy. So again, when you're struggling on third down, you need a play. They just go to their playmaker. They find him and they just keep dialing up different things. So the Jags just couldn't handle it. Every time they made a play or two, we adjusted and just put another big play down on them. And I think it just beats the morale out of you. Especially, as I say, when you've played 43 minutes last week, you're getting battered this week, giving touchdowns away every single drive. I just think the manipulation that the Lions offense used for this was just tremendous. You just see it every single play.
Many thanks to OnePride0427 on Twitch, subscribing at Tier 1 for their 19th month and says, Colts about to get smoked. Let's go, boys. Hell yeah, man. Thank you very much. Appreciate that. One drive to finish off this half. And then I'll do the first drive of the second half as well. So the Jags come out 28-3 down, and lesser teams would fold at this point. They'd call an audible and say, you know what, I think we're done. But the Jags, 3rd and 4, pass short to Gabe for 3, amazing tackling to stop him short by Robertson and Campbell, but 4th and 1, the sneak is good, deep in their own territory, but they kind of have to go for that, and to their credit, they do very well. 1st and 10, nice up the middle to Thomas for 24 yards to the Detroit 35, one of Mac's few 10-yard plus throws that was successful. And it looked so comfortable that it makes me question what the hell they were doing for the rest of the game. 2nd and 15, after a false start. A throw to Parker Washington for 10, very shifty receiver. I was actually very impressed by Parker Washington in games preceding this one. So I was kind of surprised they didn't try and use him as an escape valve a bit more often, because he's an underrated slot guy, but he tends to get open more often than not, and he showed it here. Then a throw to Ingram for 7 yards. At this point, there's 13 seconds to go. I think they still had a timeout in their back pocket, so they went Wildcat to ETN for 1 yard. Now, for me, it's egregious that you go to ETN in the Wildcat here unless you intend to potentially throw it. But at this point, 13 seconds to go, you're down 25 points. You need a touchdown and you're about 25, 30 yards out. What's the one way you can ensure if your running back isn't going to throw the ball that you're not going to score a touchdown? Run the ball. What's one way to ensure you're going to run the ball? Run Wildcat. What on earth are you doing? This was waving the white flag, I'm taking field goals here. So when I praise you for having grit and coming back and showing something, doing that 4th down sneak in your own territory and converting, and then you go, with 13 seconds left, I'm not even going to throw the ball to the end zone. What the hell are you playing at on offense? Like, the play calling sucks. Hate it. So Wildcat to ETN for 1, 8 seconds to go now. A throw underneath to Evan Ingram for 7 yards. For 5 yards to the Detroit 17. That takes all the time off the clock bar 1 second. 35-yard field goal is good. Lions get an unnecessary roughness on Aleem McNeil, which is enforced on the second half kickoff. And then Lions, first possession out of the gate in the second half. Goff with a scramble for 5, his second scramble for a good one there. And then Goff quick through to JMO to get the first down. Monty run up the middle for 6. Goff play action throw deep in the middle on time to Jameson Williams for 64 yards for the touchdown. So it took 1, 2, 3, 4 plays for the 70 yards. 70 yards? No, that's not true. 10, 16, 80 yards. Oh, yes, because they had the kickoff, because they had the extra 15 yards, they were able to land it in the landing zone and we couldn't recover it. So we started at 20. So we had to go 80 and we did it in 4 plays. The throw to JMO is a thing of absolute beauty, not unlike a touchdown we actually saw earlier in the season with JMO on that sort of coming from the left-hand side of the formation on that kind of shallow crosser and then turns it upfield towards the corner to house it. Excellent timing. Good pass protection on there as well, because it actually gives Goff plenty of time to throw that ball. It's a long developing route. And the pass protection is good, but it hasn't been fantastic this year. This time they do enough, and that makes it 35-6 with the 35-6 for the PAT. So, and to throw it back to you, I think you've probably just seen, in terms of the All-22, the Jacksonville final possession of the half, but please.
Yeah, I mean, obviously that was the drive Anzo got hurt, which was a kind of a deflator to the half. Like, he got hurt on one of the first plays there, but what was so nice was you just saw the other guys coming. Like you say, Neiman had that pile drive right after that. Campbell made that big stop on 3rd and 1. You know, these guys just kept going hard at it, and, you know, they tried. I think at that point, when you're 28-3 down, you've kind of got to get a little funky. I did not agree with the Wildcat one is too funky. You want to try a flea flicker or something from there, fine. Don't go under Wildcat like that. It's crazy, but to keep them down to 6 is absolutely fine before the half. I think it's a good result. For us, coming straight out after the half, this is what we needed. The last thing we needed at 28-6 was to come out, be 3-0, let them score, and then maybe let them think they've got a chance in this game. Great teams crush spirits, and I think we just crushed the spirit. I like JMO. I mean, how good, again, he's got a man left on the floor trailing him because they just can't keep up with him. And the scary part is, from like 40 yards out, the man's jogging. You can see this DB like running like he's on a treadmill for his life, and JMO is just jogging.
So, do you know what it reminded me of? It reminded me of Usain Bolt in the first 100 meters he won in the Olympics. It was like, I won this.
he turned his head in the race. You don't do that.
Yeah.
You don't turn your head in the race to see where the rest of your competitors are, but like the speed is insane, and I love the celebration.
And that's what I was going to say. Do you remember Usain Bolt with his celebration before he won? That's why it reminded me of it, because he's there like doing this, and obviously then he's doing the Marshawn Lynch, which is just amazing. But
and it's just got this great image of him just there. It's almost like he's waving back at the DB with the football in his hand, going, catch me. I cannot state how much I love Jameson Williams. Like,
it's a level of shithousery I aspire to.
I want this man to be on the team for the rest of his career. Like, yes. I know people say I know he's got his detractors, but I've just showed you in this game his manipulation of defenders, his block. Like, he is the most selfless blocker. You think Amon-Ra's a selfless blocker? JMO is just as selfless. Like, he won't. Like, some games he won't get a catch, but he will have a profound effect on this team, and you don't get that with anybody else on this team. And I think that broke the Jags. The fact that he just jogged his way in from 40 yards out, and I think that was when they were broken. That was another score right after the half. That is what Jameson Williams can do to teams, and I just love him. I love him so much, and I just want this to carry on forever.
I think for me with JMO, the switch flipped to me this season when I realised he'd sorted out his catching issues. And it's not perfect. You see him juggling sometimes before coming down with the ball. But before it was, you're outright dropping and you're not giving yourself a chance to do it. And with everything else that comes with it, that's really hard to take. But this season, he's catching most of the balls he should, which means when you are that sort of break it for 6 from deep, we now have that threat that you can rely on. And so if you told me that he was going to be the immature person which people thinks he is, which means he's going to get a 2-game ban every year. But we get for 15 games what we see now from him. I don't give a shit. Give me 15 games of this.
Exactly. Like, how many speedsters do you see flame out in the NFL because they can't ever coordinate the catching with their speed? They're too busy thinking about how quick they're going to adjust. Like, we just saw Tyquan Thornton released by the Patriots this week. Like, he was just speed. He was drafted 200 places too high, but still, he's just speed. He's never been able to sort out his catching issues in the league. He's never been able to get it together. You see it year in, year out. All these really fast combine guys, 99% of them flame out. With JMO, it was always going to take time with him, and you've seen now just how good he is. But he is a gritty difference maker. I think he's unique. Like, I can't speak on Tyreek Hill and what he does. He's great, but I would be willing to bet if I wanted one of them two in the trenches to provide a deep threat for me, I would pick Jameson Williams over Tyreek Hill. If I wanted someone who was going to help implement my run heavy scheme, like my trench scheme, I would take him. I'm not saying he's like better overall talent wise, but he'd be the guy I'd pick because he has every other bit of his game as well as having a stupidly high ceiling as a receiver as well.
Yeah, there's been a comment on Twitch, which I'm not going to talk about directly, but being as indirectly direct as I can, if you listen to any Lions content creators who indicate that they don't particularly like Jameson Williams, fuck that prick.
Oh, was it Matt Derry was having a go at him, wasn't he? Saying he's immature and that, like...
I couldn't possibly comment.
No, you know what? I just leave other content creators alone. I don't like to call people out, but I just think
I'm not calling out anyone in particular. No, I'm just saying that the people who hate on Jameson Williams are not watching what he's doing on the field and just dislike him as a person. And
so this is the Jared Goff thing again. This is the Jared Goff thing again.
Absolutely, 100%.
The trouble is, a lot of people make takes, right? Especially in this day and age. I'm starting to get tired where people would rather their takes be right than a player prove them wrong. There is still a section of people who hate Jared Goff.
ROTL.
There is, again, not naming names. Everyone has a right to their opinions, but I believe that those people who don't like Jared and don't stand for what he is, like, obviously you can't... How many quarterbacks have a renaissance like him? None. It just so rarely happens, but they want to go back to 3 years ago. They would probably rather him cost us a Super Bowl so they can dig up a tweet from 3 years ago saying you will never win one with him. Why? So they can be right and they can hang it over everyone's head for the rest of their lives. And it's starting to really annoy me, this culture of...
Oh, it's more important to be right than your team to be good.
Because people want people to come to their pods and their shows because look at me, I'm the hot take guy who gets it right. And with JMO, I think a lot of people wrote checks, and especially when people say players are not a culture fit now, because everyone wants to be that person who they know what a Brad Holmes draft pick is. They know who a Dan Campbell guy is. Like, because, they're hardworking, they're gritty, but, they've got no priors, they've got no trouble attached to them or anything like that. And so many people wrote him off as a culture failure. To now see him in this team performing incredibly well, been gritty, been blocking, been a team player, been a difference maker, it's proven them wrong and they can't stand it. And, I'd rather just admit I was wrong. Alex Anzalone, I was wrong. Jared Goff, I was wrong. There are people in that room who I would rather be wrong.
Yeah.
Rather than be 100% take guy who gets it right, I would rather be a human who makes errors. I think for me is where the hate is coming.
Yeah.
Specific people who don't like him, I happen to know, have made a lot of comments about him, and he's making them look foolish. That's all I'm saying.
I think the thing about being a hot take merchant is that's absolutely fine. Have enough about you to just put your hands up and say I'm wrong, as opposed to doubling down when you are wrong, which is really frustrating because you know what?
It's like
hot take merchants have their place. They just do. And you know what? It's fun to just put stuff out there and say I believe this, and it might be a bit odd or a bit out there and it's not the way popular people think, but I think differently to everyone else. And then when that thing doesn't happen, there you go. I said I said after 8 games of Jared Goff, I want him cut. Outright, I do not care about the financial implications. I want him gone from this team, and I could not have been more wrong.
I said it after 1-6 in year 2. Like I remember that speech saying I love Brad and Dan and I really want them to succeed, but I just don't see it happening with him here. I am not ashamed.
Goff is a bridge, and he's a bridge to nowhere.
Yeah, I am not ashamed. It's like draft stuff. It's just as bad with draft stuff. People are so desperate to be the first person to see this guy or the first person to be that guy. Like, oh yeah, welcome on the train with everybody. And they're so desperate for their takes to be right that people who they write off or anything, they want to, even if they come to their team, they want to fail. Oh, they made the wrong pick. I suggested this guy. You can't be like I've scouted hundreds of players wrong. I've got some ones right. I've got ones wrong, and I'll admit that. That's a part of the game.
But that's why I'm reading a book at the moment on why people should be trustworthy. And at the end of the day, there's 2 things to it. Is you believe the person is the same in their personal life as they are in the life that you see them in. I.e., they're credible, they're realistic. Like, they're not putting on a facade. And the second one is they're accountable to themselves. And some people just aren't accountable to themselves. One Prado 427 says about Anzalone, which I'll read now. But I think Anzalone's actually had a bigger turnaround than Goff has, potentially. It's just in obviously a less glamorous position. But One Prado 47 on Twitch says, Anzalone has humbled me. I couldn't comprehend him as a starter, and I've probably had to apologise for my take on him only every game he plays.
Me and you did. Me and you had so much falling out of, because you said this is a good signing for us. And I went, no, I said, because judging what he'd done on New Orleans, I said, okay, he's a guy we'll have in there, but I still want to draft a linebacker. And I very much remember these conversations we had. We had loads.
But to be fair, you were right too, because what do? They drafted the linebacker as well. It's just, they took what you said, they took what I said, and they said, you're both right.
So, yeah, it's just, at the end of the day, I just want my team to be good. If my takes are bad, I don't care. But I will be 100% admissible to everything that I've said on a pod. So
I'm going to split the rest of this in 2 because I know you've not done the all 22 for this yet. And hello to our resident Packers fan in the chat, Adam Gilchrist, saying week 12 could be a fun one. Potentially, it could be. We're going to get on with the rest of this
very quickly. You gave us so much. Well, you gave me so much pleasure.
You do not speak for me.
I spent Monday morning watching Bears fans' reaction videos to that field goal, and it's just like, feed me your tears so much. I love you so. I do not say this often, but Packers, I love you so much this week. Just seeing their collective pain has just, thank you from the bottom of my heart, but still, fuck the Packers. But thank you this week.
Yeah, no, so I definitely have no love for the Packers. I did want the Bears to win this game just for the Lions' benefit in terms of division and trying to win it and whatever. But
I just want to let's trounce the Packers at Ford Field. Let's do it that way. Let's handle our business.
Sure, absolutely. But I do love the fact that the Bears have become that team that we used to be crying about the refs not giving them a call, because just watch the long snapper get absolutely folded on the blooming block, and it's like, hang on a minute, I'm sure the refs are coming out saying, I think this is the right thing. But the long snapper gets absolutely destroyed in the play, which is a blooming penalty. I think it's funny. It's so funny to me that it doesn't get called.
I just think it was the gods punishing them for 36 seconds and a timeout left, lining up the field goal.
Jim
Harbaugh went for it and got a touchdown, and he put his game to bed. What did Eberflus do? He lined up his kicker. And the Packers said, we've seen this guy kicks low. Like, Bisaccia saw it. It's like, why? They nearly blocked one earlier in the game. Why are you giving it him from 43? He's got a crazy stat. He's like 72 of 72 from within 40 for the Bears. His accuracy drops to like 70% when you get outside of 40. It's why? What have you got to... With a timeout, you're on second down, you can run a pass play, and you can run a run play, and then still take your field goal. You've got 2 opportunities there. If you get a first down, you've got 3 opportunities to pass the ball. Just keep eking chunks out. But anyhow, Go back to our game. I'll laugh about the Bears
Yes.
again later.
All right. So Jags come out 35-6 down, second down and 9. Mac throws deep right to Gabe Davis, who beats Arnold, but Mac misses him with the throw. Another example. It's the only bad play I can find, I think, from Terry and Arnold all game is that he gets beat deep in that rep, but Mac can't find him. Third down and 9. Can't find Parker Washington over the middle. Punt out of bounds at the Detroit 17. At this point, they're just having to avoid Khalif Raymond. So Detroit come out 35-6 up at our own 17. Goff play action throw to Amon-Ra St. Brown on a crossing route for 26 yards. They just got no chance anymore. Third down and 9. Deep middle to JMO, finding his face in the zone for 22 to the Jags 34. First down and 10. Check down to Monty for 9.5 yards. Second down and inches. Run for 5 by Monty. And then an Allen Robinson lash out, punch, push, whatever you want to call it, loses 15 on an unnecessary roughness. Doesn't get ejected though.
I think he did get provoked, but still, you're an idiot. You don't get much plays on the field. Don't do that.
Yeah.
You're endearing yourself.
Exactly. Dan Campbell will not be amused. Goff play action scramble for 8, and then Monty drives his legs to get 4 in the first down. Amon-Ra jet sweep, read really well by Josh Hines-Allen for a loss of 4. Second down and 14, though, and then legal contact penalty gives us a first down. On fourth down and 2, Dan Campbell says, "Fuck you, Jags," and goes for it anyway. Throws over the middle to Tim Patrick for 9 in the first down. First down and goal from the 5 next play. Passes short to Brock Wright for the touchdown to give me a heart attack. PAT's good. Detroit lead 42-6. And then on the Jags' next possession, second down and 8, Mac with a play action throw to Thomas over the middle for 22 yards, tackled by Branch. First down and 10. And TPT. I think pass breakup. No. I have no idea what my note is here. Campbell on Brenton Strange. I think it was a catch. But anyway, first down and 10. Run up the middle for 9 to the Detroit 32. Second down and 1. Mac feeling frisky. Play action throw deep. Amazing interception by Kirby Joseph. It was a delayed throw and Kirby exploded on the ball on the undercut versus Luke Farrell. And the Lions really put the nail in the coffin here. 42-6. I'm going to throw it back to you here, Ant. Arnold got beat deep, but they couldn't punish us for that. We end up going 83 yards for the touchdown. Hines-Allen got the TFL, but then they shoot themselves in the foot. We go for it on fourth down, up 29. Like, just it's a dickhead move, and I'm so here for it. And then the interception by Kirby is absolutely fantastic.
Like I say, that when JMO scored that touchdown, I think they truly lost belief in themselves. Because when you just come out and toss it downfield 3 times, the ingenuity went. There was no imagination in the play calling. There was, let's just try and get a big chunk. Let's try and make something happen. That's when you give up. Because before that, like I said, I'd actually been sort of impressed by the Jags and how they were trying to, they were trying to keep us guessing. They were trying to get the ball into the playmakers' hands in different ways. That was like, okay, that's just 3 and out. They've thrown the ball. They've barely taken any time off the clock. Their defense can't get any stops on us. And once again, it's JMO stick moving. Third down, he's becoming just as reliable a receiver as Amon-Ra in the clutch situations because of his ability to separate. And these corners, these linebackers, they just didn't stand a chance against his speed. Like, he's confident right now. You get that big play, that's just a backbreaker. You're down on 3rd and 9. All of a sudden, you're in their half again. You're able to start running the ball again. And then the 4th and 2nd call, I loved it. For me, why we're so good on 4th down is because, as Bain said, I was born in the 4th down. I was molded in the 4th down. I am the 4th down. Like all those 4th downs we took in. But why are we so good at it? Remember, year 1 of Campbell, everyone said he's too aggressive. He taught them to be good in clutch situations. He trusts his offense implicitly on 4th down, and if he wants to go for it, he'll go for it. And the team, even then, you're showing respect to them, I think, because you're giving them the opportunity. Okay, turn us over. We're going to be aggressive. Turn us over. Get the ball back. Get yourself back in this game. But we just executed so well. Patrick was in so much space, and it was executed great. And, it's just, I do not mind that at all. Brock gets his touchdown, which is really good. And then again, you get a little bit of success. You kind of go to a little bit of prevent at this point. Thomas had a really good catch, sorry. I really like him. I think he's going to be good there in time going by. But it just shows you, like, that interception was bad. You throw it into double coverage again. And the fact is, our corners holding up one-on-one allow Branch and Kirby to survey the field. Like, Kirby said he saw him tap the ball before he threw it. Why? He's not having to worry about the receiver because the corner's got him wrapped up. When he sees the sign and he knows where it's going and the quarterback's locked onto his receiver, it's actually quite easy for him to jump that thing, and he does it in plenty of time. So that just shows how well our scheme is, that we can just allow Branch and Kirby to sit there and make plays when they need to. And again, it's just a backbreaker. You're finally thinking Jags are going to get a score, but this is what dominant teams do. They don't allow garbage yard points. They just don't give you a way back whatsoever. If your back's not been broken by that J-Mo touchdown, it's broken by the fact that you've just about got it in for your first touchdown of the day and you get nothing and you're down. So I love the aggression on both sides of the ball. And, it's a lesson. Those players are never going to forget that lesson again. If they want to be good players, they're going to have to aspire to be as good as we are. And they will remember that, and hopefully one day they will use it in the same fashion when they take it out on the rest of the AFC South, and they'll remember that. And I'd rather do that than just go easy on them. I think going easy on a team is disrespect. Just showing, we can't be asked anymore.
Yeah, or we pity you. That's what it is.
Someone posted it today when the Eagles absolutely filibustered us in year one under Campbell. What was it, 44-6? We didn't score a point till like 8 minutes to go. They had 6 sacks on Goff. They racked up 38.
Was that when our only score was
Jamar Jefferson?
Oh no, so that's not even the one I was thinking. There was a game where the only score we had was a punt return touchdown, and it was in that sort of era. That might have been
the Pats game. Was it? The Pats blocked us out.
Cowboys.
I think the Cowboys maybe.
I'm not sure. Anyway, there were similar games.
They were 38. They were 38-0 up in the end of the fourth. They'd sacked us 6 times. They'd sacked Goff 6 times. They didn't let up on us. We scored a touchdown. They scored more points after that. That for us. That will have been a learning moment for us. We want to be that team. That is what 3 years ago we aspired to be. And now 3 years later, we formed our identity, our culture, our roster, and now we're doing that to the teams. Hopefully, in 3 years' time for Jags fans, maybe not that long, maybe 2 years, depending on, they will start dishing out those beatings to people, and they will thank us for what they did for us here, rather than pity them and take it easy on them. And for us, I just have no doubt. Like, if we're up big, I know we're still going to go for it. And I know we're just going to throttle the life out of teams and no one can step up to us. I'm fine with that. I don't want anyone to step up to us. I don't want anyone to even think they can step up to us. That's how you just demoralize teams.
Right, here we go to the end of the game. Detroit's 7th possession. I'll say that again. We're deep into this game. Our 7th possession. Gibbs with a slippery run up the middle for 16. Man doesn't know how to go down. 3rd and 3. Goff throw over the middle to Amon-Ra St. Brown for a 23-yard gain to midfield. J-Mo end around only gets 2 though. 2nd down and 8. Gibbs tripped. Actually, really good tackle for only 4. 3rd down and 4. Goff throws deep to Amon-Ra St. Brown again for a 22-yard gain, this time to the Jacksonville 22. Goff then throws over the middle to Tim Patrick, who he was used sparingly, but when he was out there, he made his presence felt. 14-yard gain to the Jacksonville 9-yard line. And then throws a short throw to the right-hand side and a quick out to Amon-Ra St. Brown for the touchdown, which broke my heart in some ways. PAT was good, and the Lions lead 49-6. Jags' 8th possession. ETM runs over his own man to lose a yard. 2nd down and 11, throw to Thomas for 12 and the 1st down. 2nd down and 8, throw on a short crosser to Thomas for 23 yards to the Detroit 34. Get some things moving. But then on 4th down and 7, they go for it. And this is where Zadarius Smith and Jack Campbell get their split sack between them. The blitz just overwhelmed the Jags O-line and didn't give Mac Jones a chance, to be honest. Detroit's 8th possession in good field position. Reynolds gets a big run up the middle for 19 on one of his only 2 rushes of the day. Hooker with a play action scramble for 2. 3rd down and 6, play action to Allen Robinson, but he was hit at the catch point and couldn't hang on. On 4th down and 6, the Lions elect for a 54-yard field goal, which Bates absolutely drills. Good practice for him, 52-6. Jags 9th possession, 3rd down and 7, and a great hit by Brandon Joseph on Brian Thomas. It was called a catch. We challenged it like an absolute dick, and it was overturned. We're not even going easy on them when they're down by 46 bloody points. Fantastic hit by Brandon Joseph, not giving up on that play in relief. Punt to the Detroit 11, return for 15 to the 26. And then the final drive of the game, Faki for 7 up the middle. 3rd down and 4, pass to Allen Robinson for 7. He was hit head-to-head. It gives 15 yards for the Lions against Ventrell Miller, and Robinson has to leave the game for an assessment. 2nd down and 6, Vaki runs off left end. Great contact balance for 8, but a holding penalty sets him back. 2nd down and 16, Hooker throws deep down the middle to Khalif for 21 yards. And then on 4th down and 2, we run a sneak for Hooker for 3 yards of 1st down and kneel downs. That's the ball game. And we close it out really well, Ant. I mean, we go touchdown to Amon-Ra St. Brown at the start of the 4th quarter. It felt like the drive really didn't matter. We were calling for the starters potentially at this point in the 4th quarter to go, but they finished off the drive in spectacular style with 3 good passes to Amon-Ra for 23, 22, and then the touchdown. We pull the starters at this point, and they get it going a little bit, but then we get that sack to end their drive. Then we get the field goal with Hooker in relief, who I think actually looked pretty handy in the very few reps that he had. And then we managed to, just end the game with a really nice drive to kill the remaining clock. I think it was still a 5-minute drive in the end there, which was really impressive. I'm going to hand it over to you, and I'm just going to disappear for 2 minutes.
Yeah, it was just very professional all over the show from us. We kept driving. I like the fact that we kept them in a little longer, as I say. When you're on top, you want to give these guys, the opportunity to go out there. They have incentives to reach, they have, and they're a team that want to go out there and set the standard. They want to be the team that everybody fears. So you go out there, and when teams see you up, when you've got 42 odd points, 49 points, then 52, and you're still playing like it's 21 all at the end, and you're on a game-winning drive, and you're trying to do everything to win a game, like that puts the fear of God into teams. They realize that no matter how far behind they are, whether they've got a little lead, whatever, we're just going to keep coming at them. They saw what we did to the Texans, how we just made stop after stop after stop after stop, and we didn't roll over. And now they've seen us dominate several teams and absolutely put them to the sword. It's going to give teams nightmares thinking about us now. We're just so perfect in all 3 aspects of the games that, you've got to beat us 3 ways. You could play better offensively on the day, doesn't matter. Defense can keep your points down and we can still eke out a win. You can play better defensively than us. Our offense is going to outscore you. You can play the special teams game. Like last week, the Texans punter was amazing. This week, the Jags punter was amazing. Doesn't matter how far back you pin us. Our offense is just good enough to get us out of those situations. Yet if we pin you back, there's absolutely no way you're getting out of it. Like when you play great football on all 3 areas, then they can all pick up the slack when one's not working well. And that is the sign of a great team. And, it did get a little embarrassing towards the end. It was good for some of the guys to come in, get some valuable reps. You could see a bit of the rustiness in there. I think it was Nice had the hold, Robinson with his breakdown and bits like that. But overall, you've just got to say this was pure domination for 50 or 55-ish minutes, and then 5 minutes of just professional play to see this one out, and just to give the Jags absolutely no hope in this one at all. And you look at this, 40 minutes of possession for us with the ball. That's just impressive. Defense gets off the field quick. Offense just puts together long, sustained drives. No team, very few teams can win with 20 minutes of possession in a game. And when you can dominate that way, I just loved everything about this from start to finish. There are some issues that, we'll go over just at the end when we do the highs and the lows, but you couldn't really ask for much more than this. And, in terms of just an outright game of domination, we said it maybe with the Cowboys, but this one is even bigger. And I asked Herm about this the other day, and Herm said he never took part in a game like this. You have to go all the way back to when they played the Cowboys in the playoffs in the early 90s. Was it the Cowboys? It was the Cowboys. And he said, like, you have to go back that far for him to think of a game. And he's been involved with the organization for a lot longer than we have, where he saw something that was just like a complete and utter mismatch in this one. So that just goes to show you how good this was. And yeah, it was just thoroughly enjoyable watching, and it was so great. Not one part of the day did the cardiac kitty come out. Like, I had a day off of cardiac kitties, and that's always a good day. Not very often we don't see the cardiac kitty come out, so there you go.
Yeah, one for this weekend, perhaps. Just on some game themes, I mean, dominations on both sides of the ball, we've kind of adequately covered that. I think Goff had everything that he wanted. Whatever he could do, he did out there. And the way that he shifts in the pocket now, I mean it in the best possible way, that the way he manipulates the pocket is so like Tom Brady. When he's not trying to spin out of it, which is very much not like Tom Brady, but like Brady was an elite guy in the pocket because the one step that he would take would give him the time he needed to throw the ball, and he had that in this game. It was brilliant.
And I think he reads the field better than most. Like, his reading of a defense is immaculate. All three levels. He'll look for the easiest pass. And you know what? People people have been making a lot of comments about his 21 rush yards in this, but every quarterback can evolve in how they play. And one thing I think Goff could stand to do, I understand why he never ran when he first came here. He was a wreck. He was worried about giving the ball away, fumbling it. The confidence wasn't there. But I think what he could do a little better sometimes, because sometimes he loves, like, there was one particular point in this game, he just threw the ball away very quickly down at someone's. This was very early in the game. He just threw it away, and it's just, if sometimes there's nothing there, just have a little look. Is there 3 or 4 yards you can just go and saunter again? Because he never puts himself in danger. He never puts his head down and goes for a tackle. He'll take some easy yards and get them. And he had, 21 yards on 4 carries. Even if it's just 5 yards, that halves you down in distance. It gives you a little something to work with. And it gives a little ripple for the defense to think about, because they think, well, if I'm rushing 4, like the Jags were, like the Jags just rushed 4, if you can create a little lane and all your guys are turned around and expect to pass and he goes for a little wander, they've got to then start thinking about that. So if he can just add this little crease to his game, it doesn't have to be stupid. It could just be 20, 30 yards a game. It just puts an element of doubt in a team's head when they're coming up against him. And I think he's better at it than he might think. I don't know if he believes in himself to do it, but I think with how cerebral he is, he can use this to his advantage just to get some easy yardage every now and then, just to, again, add another wrinkle to defenses. Because imagine, with all the versatility and ingenuity we have on this offense, to add in a quarterback who can run a little bit with it will blow everything wide open completely.
He's not exactly got wheels, but he's not immobile. He's more mobile than Matthew Stafford ever was, and we still saw Stafford scramble. Like, he's able to do it, but in both these scenarios, the defense will see a win. But given how hard it is to stop the Lions, if he throws it away and it's 2nd and 10, the defense have a success. If he just manages to get 2 and it's 2nd and 8, they still go, well, that's still a success for us, and yet they're still closer to the sticks than they were, and that's a big difference.
And you bring Amon-Ra into the game. You bring these guys who can get open quickly on the middle. And you've got to back your linebackers off.
Yep.
And then we can run the ball on 3rd down and 8 or something like that. It's just, I think he just needs to believe in himself a little bit more with it. He is like Peyton Manning. But even Peyton was smart enough to manipulate defenses to run every now and then
I
because
mean,
they just did not believe he was ever going to run the football.
well,
But he got
exactly. What's the most iconic Peyton Manning touchdown ever?
yeah.
It's the naked bootleg keeper from the 1 yard line where he was on his own by about 10 yards. That's
Because
the most famous
nobody
one.
believed
Exactly.
it.
Yeah.
And I think Goff could stand to learn from that. I think just no team even thinks about him as a rusher. So I think you just need to create a few scenarios where you empty one side of the field and give him the option to run out and just get a little bit. But that's been incredibly nippy. But I think he's better at it than people
gives
would give him credit for. Yeah.
And it's the one area where when people talk about Patrick Mahomes that I absolutely buy that he has a leg up on anyone else in the league, including Goff, which is when you have him banged to rights, he has that back-breaking scramble in him where he just gets a first down and you're like, we did everything we could, we got pressure, it was incredible coverage, and we still lose. And it's the morale that loses on the defense that is so key. It's not just that one play, it's shit, we do everything right and we still lose. If we can add that into our game with Goff, we'll be unbeatable. It's the sort of thing which is going to make the difference in high leverage games between two teams that are the best in the league, i.e. week 21.
Yeah. Like I say, it's just going to manipulate a defense enough to open up the windows you want.
Week 21, I mean, week 22?
I lose track
I can't
now.
count, but yes. I'm trying to... What's the Super Bowl in a week?
Just take all the games and then subtract one off it for the bye week, or two off it for the... I don't know. Yeah, two off it for a bye, potentially.
Yeah. Other themes from this game, so run and pass offense, equally effective, whatever. I mean, and you were talking about this earlier, but I kind of didn't go into it a little bit further. In other games, we've played the chess match and other teams have played it with us and it's been a bit more competitive. In this game, Ben Johnson was playing the chess match where they were thinking we were going to go run, so we went pass. They were thinking we were going to go pass, so we went run, and then we went play action. They kind of didn't play the chess game really at all. And it meant we had everything we wanted on offense.
It's for me, it's akin to we were playing chess, but we knew the move they were going to make before they made it. Like Ben manipulated. He was always one step in front. And like I say, when you come out and you pass it straight from the off, they're expecting you to run the ball. You open it up, you pass a second time because they don't know if you're going to do it or not. And then they're like, well, damn it, we've got to stop bleeding because Amon-Ra's taking care of our soft coverage and he's taking chunks out of us. We've got to drop a bit deeper. And then you run the football, and then you're like, oh, well, what the hell do I do now? Like, doing the hook and ladder on the first play of a drive was ingenious because that nearly went to the house, and the defense is like, oh my God, they're pulling this out on us now. What the hell do we do? And it just felt like they were never able to get a handle on it. And I deliberately just said about little passages of play where they had one successful snap on defense. They had two successful snaps on defense, maybe just about to get a bit of momentum, and then we threw something else in there and just wiped it out. Like, they just never were able to get a foothold because we were one step in front of them, which I think is just testament to the coaching. It was so good, and it just nullified anything they had by passing it quick, by running it quick. You took their edges out the game. And the edges are where that defense is based. The way they win is by having those edges make pressure and making it easier for the bottom two levels of their defense. They couldn't do that in this one. And we were just able to exploit it. And they had to go one-on-one against our guys, and they're just going to lose that every single day of the week.
On the defensive side of the ball, rush D exceptional all day. The longest rush of the day for the Jags was 9 yards. What more needs to be said on that point? And then coverage-wise, excellent all day. Brian Thomas got a couple of 20-yard catches, but
you're always going to lose some, right? Like
exactly.
You're never going to be perfect in a game. It's the NFL. They're elite receivers. They're going to get one or two on you, and you've just got to accept that.
Yeah, we made Gabe Davis look like Gabe Davis. That's the only thing I'll say on that point. For everything that people were saying about Christian Kirk, Gabe Davis is by far and away the worst wide receiver pickup they've had. At least Kirk's
Yeah,
been
and they
somewhat
were,
successful.
and the Jags fans were furious with him because they said there were so many situations where they did get to shorter downs and he was getting catches and he was short of the sticks. He wasn't running past the sticks to make catches.
Yeah.
Like, how many times have we said that over the years that we're throwing? Even this year, at the start of this year, we were complaining about how much we were throwing before the sticks.
Yeah.
We seem to have sorted that issue out a little bit now, but and now what? He's out for the year, so he's done. He couldn't deal with us. So, but yeah, the run defense is just amazing on all counts of it. They didn't even try to go down the middle. They tried to go down the outside, and the contain was good. The DBs were good. The edges were good. And that just it kills teams. That's why Hutch getting hurt, while big for us, it doesn't deprive of us our greatest weapon on defense, which is our run defense. Because what does it do? It puts you in 3rd and long. It allows you to get creative with your pressures. It allows you to be better in your coverage. You can keep the safeties deep because it takes longer for the routes to develop. It plays into your hands. I'd sooner have an elite run defense than an elite pass rush because it levels the field so much more.
Yeah.
We've seen the Jags have got an elite pass rush. They've got elite pass rushers, right? 3 of them. What did that do them in this game? Call. So, we will always have that ace in our pocket and they're playing well. And the linebackers are playing really well. The DBs were just physical, aggressive, tough, gave them nothing. It was just smash. It was just a better team playing with a better intensity. And that is our calling card now. Just teams. I think there may be 1 or 2 teams in this league who can match our intensity with our skill level and pose a real threat to us. The rest of them on our day are just way behind.
Yeah, agree. Right, time to do game balls, stock up, stock down, whatever you want to call it. Who do you want to give a shout out to this week?
I mean, it's tough, right? There's so many you can give it to. I mean, of course, the one I'm going to give it to.
You've got to. If you don't do it, I'm going to do it. So you've got to take him.
I mean, 7 perfect PATs, 1 perfect field
goal.
No,
what were you bastard?
Perfect.
I'm going to take your guy. I'm going to take your guy.
I'm going to take your guy. I've got to do it at this point. The long snapper, absolutely perfect. 7 perfect PATs, perfect field goal, perfect snapping on the day. It's... Oh, that's just rude.
Sorry, I'm just inhabiting Brian Branch.
That's just rude. Yeah, but I'm not the Packers faithful. I'm one of your co-hosts on here. I'm not a Packers fan. So, but okay. Let's just put it into special teams. Special teams, perfect. They did very well. I think it's to give individual game balls. It's very tough. But who are you going to give it to?
I'm first just going to give thanks to their first super chat, Skip Chelton, $25 super chat.
Wow.
It's amazing. Thank you very much. Says,
appreciate that.
Love your live play-by-play. I mute Sunday Ticket and listen to you every weekend.
Oh, well, that's you. That's you. Well done.
I love doing it. I really, really would love to do it as a career. But credit to Ash as well. He's an incredible colour commentator. I think we make a really good team on a Sunday. So appreciate you, Skip. That's very much that means a lot. Thank you. All right. Ken Stouter says the double bird has flown. Don't see that so much anymore. I'm going to give it to Malcolm. I'm going to give it to Malcolm Rodriguez.
You scumbag. utter scumbag.
43 snaps. We just didn't miss who he was replacing. Came in after 2 weeks of injury. And frankly, looks like he's in the form of his life right now. I mean, Malcolm in the first year where he was a plucky underdog and he made the team through grit and determination, the rest of our linebackers being utter dog shit. But he deserved being in that team. But he was being picked on in the last part of that year, ended up kind of falling back from the starters into the rotation. And right now, the way he played in this game, I mean, you've got to question whether he can be a starter going forward. Because, fine, he may not be 6'2", and he may not be that sort of rangy guy that you want sometimes in terms of speed. But he's so good at what he does. You didn't miss Alex. And he was brilliant. I'm sure you'll have more to say on him. You put out a very nice tweet about him this morning.
I did.
So when I said you better take him because I'm going to take him if you don't,
No,
I thought you knew who I was on about.
I got my no, because I didn't think you don't think like me. Mind you, you know me, so that's probably one of those. But it's a case of so he got 610 snaps in his first year. Everyone wrote him off because he's an undersized lad, but this is why you don't judge, something by its cover, because he is so good. Like, he has a wrestling background. You can see that in the way that he's got leverage. He's got the way that everything goes around with it. Like I say, he rinsed Ezra Cleveland for a run block on this one because of how good he is with his arms, how good he is at disengaging. He can go up with these guys and be an impact in the run game. Do not go at him just because he's small. He had to wait after getting put into that team and playing 600 snaps in his rookie year because there was no one else there. He had to wait all of last year for his chance. He just grinded away on special teams, comes in the playoffs, makes an impact, and then comes back in this year and he's fighting again. He's a 6th round pick. He, for me, and I said this, he epitomizes Detroit grit more than most. Maybe more than anybody, because unlike Penne and Aiden and all these guys, they're 1st round picks. And I'm not taking that away from them, but being a 1st round pick and being elite is one thing. Him, being a round 6 guy, overcoming every single odd possible to become a vital part of your team is what we're about, right?
Yep.
And so, yeah, I absolutely love all that about him there. But I did have to get the long snapper jibe in, so there was always going to be that. I mean, who else would I say? You know what? I'll give J-Mo his due as well. I know I've talked about him all this one, but the fact that he's just become such a great player. It's coming right. We knew this was going to be the breakout year, but you just saw everything that's so great about him in this game. The blocking, the big playability, the 3rd down plays. He's now getting trusted as a 3rd down target to get us out of tricky situations. And his manipulation, using his speed in the field to cause collisions, to get himself separation. He's thinking with his mind as well now. And like you say, the catching's cleared up. So this is one of his biggest performances yet, and you're starting to see the complete player come together. So he'd be the one I'd fully give that to. So yeah, I'll give J-Mo there. You can't steal that one from me.
I wouldn't dream of it. And coming in the clutch after work, Ashley Soden's in the chat as well. How you doing, man?
Tired. The snow over here has really made transport very difficult, but we move. Thank God I ran back. I'm glad as I'm coming in, I hear the Longstafford drive. I'm like, still, my presence, even though I'm not there fully in body just yet, my spirit is still here.
So, briefly, what did you think of the game? And then who do you want to shout out that we haven't already?
So, having watched it back yesterday, just domination. Like, seeing all the clips that come out today as well of all the All-22, just seeing how well we put together. Like, I was listening on the way back, but like the way that J-Mo was blocking, Penne, as I pointed out yesterday, living up to what he said on the 20 Minute in the Huddle podcast by showing how much he appreciates blocking for Monty and Gibbs, by putting his shoulder where no shoulder has ever gone before with Monty. And then just the defense as well. And which comes to the guy I'm going to shout out. And I don't know if you guys shouted him out, and everyone will know who this is because yet again he comes up in clutch. Kirby bloody Joseph, my guy, now leading the league in interceptions outright. All the NFL accounts tweeting about Xavier McKinney can now, jog on. But also the fact that then after the game, him and J-Mo go out into the community and give out Thanksgiving turkeys. Like, not only is he taking a turkey off Mac Jones, he then goes and gives it to the community, which is just great.
It's amazing, really. Like, you have a look at people who are... We've talked about it on the show. I know I've talked about it at length. I want a team I enjoy watching. I want a team that's going to win. But first and foremost, I want a team to be proud of.
Yeah.
The players are making me proud of them as people. And that's so important to me. Like, don't be dicks. Like, let me go out there into the world and go, I love these people. And yeah, they absolutely did that. So I'm here for that. My second guy I'm going to shout out is a guy who's put together back-to-back weeks to match any of them. Someone who's unheralded, terrifically underpaid. Maybe he's going to retire at the end of the season. Who knows? Right guard Kevin Zeitler. I have my doubts about you, sir. Especially in the game against Tennessee, where he was not great, but to that point had a couple of good games and a couple of bad ones, and I kind of thought, you know what, maybe you are just that sort of stopgap measure that I thought you were coming in, that, you know, you're cheap, but you're a high-performing guy, generally speaking, and there's going to be some good and some bad. And in the last 2 weeks against Houston and Jacksonville, two teams known for their pass rush, specifically on the edge, and so, you know, you've got to deal with some stunts and some interior pressure as well from those guys. He's put together maybe the best 2-game stretch of his career. His overall PFF grade for the season now is the second best of his career, and his best was in 2014. It's been a long time for Zeitler, and really the scheme fits him like a glove. When he's next to Penne and Frank, it's going to be an easy ride. But you know what? Glasgow also excelled in that role last year, but I know guard is a devalue position. It's not as important as centre. It's not as important as tackle. You know when you're missing them. And also, you know when Graham's moved over to the left, it hasn't been quite as good for him as it was at right. But we've not been missing him on the right-hand side because Kevin's had a great stretch, and you just deserve some props because we had everything we wanted and you were a big part of that. So well done. Long may that continue for next week. And anyone else?
Coaches. Let's just like the coaches need a big shout out on this one because I just think they played a perfect game plan. Ben's offense was tremendous. The play calling was tremendous. And on defense, Aaron Glenn, even without a pass rush, really, like just he got everything right. You know, all the play call, it was done perfectly. We just had them in the palm of our hand for the entire thing. And you don't get that for an entire game without good coaching. Just felt like they had no answers to what we were doing, and at no point ever did they threaten us in this game really after that first field goal. So this is kind of mainly just a big collective shout out today. Like just so many people played well. Like I said, there's only a couple of minor gripes I have from this. Outside of that, everyone else has done well.
Ash?
It's a bit of a wild shout. Perhaps people could say a bit of rogue. And it's a guy who's come in the past couple of weeks when we've needed him because we've signed him off the street pretty much to the practice squad. Has been elevated because one of our vets in this role fortunately got injured. But you know what? He's making a name to stick himself here. And yes, it's the guy who a certain panel member shares a name with. Ezekiel Turner coming in again. Second highest graded special teamer this week for us by PFF, which I know isn't everything. We all probably heard Dave Phipps' little rant last week about DVOA and PFF, which I know a certain other panel member absolutely enjoyed. But it shows up on the tape. Like he made a solo special teams tackle. He was constantly near the punt returner and the kick returner when they returned stuff. He was always, if he wasn't the first guy there, he was the second or third. And he's kind of slotted into that role perfectly. And I know as much as I love JRM, maybe JRM offers a bit more on defense, and maybe we could kind of need him now. But Turner, especially in terms of the special teams, has been good. And then when he has played snaps on defense, so he played 4 against the Jags, 1 pass rush, 3 coverage kind of thing. Didn't exactly look out of place. Like, I didn't really spot him, but that's a good thing because at that point, yeah, okay, we're taking the starters out. The Jags still had all their guys out there. They're playing for pride in a way, and he didn't give up much. So for someone who 2 weeks ago was on the street and was a cast off from the Cardinals, for you to come into the best team in football and not look out of place is damn pretty good.
I'm going to give one more, but I had it in my mind who I was going to give it to, and now I don't know if I want to change my mind.
Did the backup long snapper come in?
No.
No, I was joking. I was just saying
I
that
know.
next guy, he praised the long snapper and the backup long snapper.
I'm going to go Terry and Arnold.
Knew it.
I will continue to be on the train of being his biggest fan, and I don't give a shit what his detractors think. And I know it's the big if, and I'll keep using this if. I know it's the big if. You take away his DPI, he's Rookie of the Year.
Yeah.
I know the DPIs are doing a lot of heavy lifting. They put other teams in good situations. They give up a huge amount of yards. He was in the positions to make plays and the technique wasn't great at the time. He sorted himself out. There was a question during the live chat in this game, halfway through the first quarter. So how many DPIs do you think Terry and Arnold's going to give up this week? Well, my answer was none. He gave up none. His coverage was good. He got beat by Gabe Davis deep once. Other than that, his coverage was excellent. His tackling was good. Thought his run defense was good. He was just a strong cornerback. Full stop. No mention of rookie here or anything like that. He ain't a rookie anymore. He's been in the Lions 10 games. You ain't a rook anymore. We need you like a vet. And he's going out there and he's just as good as Carlton Davis when it comes to the down-to-down play.
Yeah.
Carlton Davis has been around. So anyone who wants to have a go at him for rookie mistakes can come fight me. I'm here. Also, if anyone wants an Ezekiel Turner signature but doesn't want to actually hit up Ezekiel Turner, I'm absolutely here for it. Anyway.
Oh, for God. But I mean, you're right, though. So I'm having to use PFF here because I can't pull up all the stats off the top of my head. But number one, this is his second highest graded game of the season. The one that's only higher than this is Green Bay. But yeah, so Davis has got the same amount of penalties. And in this game, Terrion gave 1 catch on 4 targets. Davis gave up 3 catch on 4 targets. But of course, because Davis is the big flashy guy, and of course, last week he got the interceptions, everyone kind of gets off him. But because Arnold is the high draft pick, everyone's hyper-focused on him, which is, I guarantee I'm going to go on Instagram in a bit when we're finished here, and that stupid account I still follow, because most of the time they have great analysis. They're going to have their rookie analysis of the week, and Terry and Arnold, because he gave up 1 big catch, it's probably going to be a C-, because as you guys discussed earlier, when people have a hot take about someone, they really don't want to get off it. And this account's thing seems to be, we hate Terry and Arnold. Like, again, I hold my hands up. I've said it multiple times on this podcast. He wasn't my top rookie corner in this draft. I didn't even have a first-round grade on him. He was a high second for me. I'm wrong about it. Okay, yeah, the guy who had him a CB1 has been absolutely lights out for the Eagles the past couple of weeks in Quinyon Mitchell, but Arnold has been just as good. Just Quinyon, because he's not as targeted much, doesn't get the DPIs.
All right, any further thoughts on this game or anything about the players or team before we move on to the rest of the slate?
I would just say a couple of nitty-bitty things for this one. So, first nitty-bitty thing would be to Jack Fox, because I heard rumours that his kill-to-death ratio on COD Zombies he was playing on the sideline whilst he was in this was 2-1. Jack, that's poor. Be a better teammate on COD than that. So
2-1 in Zombies, yeah. That is a shocking kill.
Exactly.
Kill
so yeah. So negative to Jack Fox for being bad at COD Zombies while he's playing while the team's playing. But no, in 2 serious ones. One I mentioned about Brock already. Brock had a poor game run block. You need to get better at that. The other one, and no one's really mentioned this, I'm starting to get a little bit iffy about our pass rush. I know there was pressure in this game. There was 1 sack in this game from us. Mac Jones was in a pocket a lot of the time, a clean pocket in some cases, but they were passing a lot of the time. And the amount of pressure, what we generated 6 pressures on the day. I think PFF officially did, and I hate them. But I'm starting to get a little bit concerned. I'm starting to get concerned about one Josh Pascal in particular, because these are games he should start having an effect on us for us now. World War Z, it was his first game. Don't really care. He's going to take some time to get into this. Pascal this year has had 209 pass rush reps. He's got 14 quarterback pressures. The very much maligned and disliked James Houston has had 82 pass rush reps this year. He's got 13. And he's the guy who everybody likes to go after here. And I know run defense and that thing's in that involved with it, but Josh is not doing enough. He is in year 3 now, and I'm having issues here that they've got to get better.
I'm sure you're about to say the same thing as me here, Ash. I can see you wanting to jump in.
Probably, yeah.
But I'm starting to lose a bit of patience with him. We need to see more from him. And, we've got to get... Because we are going to come up against a team one day who can run the ball on us. We're going to come up against a team who we're going to need plays from somebody to get to the quarterback. I know we've got 4 against Texas, but... it's concerning that we were not able to get as much pressure as we did in this game and finish it off. So that's just I'm watching it. I'm not concerned yet. I'm watching it. But I need to see more from him.
So number one, in terms of this game, there was a couple of holds that went unnoticed. The one, there was put a clip in Discord. I think it's for Zedarius where he was just getting held. And it wasn't called.
Oh, Z, I don't care about that. That's his first game.
Yeah.
Z is free from this because it is his first game in our system, and he's going to take his time. So Z is exempt. This is others.
See, and then in terms of Pascal, I mentioned it in my preview, but it's just the role he's been asked to do. So he's been asked to be what Dan called with Davenport the can crusher. His whole point is not to get the pressures, it's to be the sort of solid end on the side that's keeping the contained for then whoever's the Russian to get the pressures. So that's going to be Z. It was first Hutchinson. Plus the thing is, since he's come into the starting lineup in Seattle, which is when Davenport, unfortunately, obviously against Arizona had the thing, he's had at least, except for this week, unfortunately, but he had at least 2 pressures every game from that can crusher role. So Seattle 3, Dallas 2, Minnesota 2, Houston 5, this one unfortunately 1. But and even then, some of that time he was playing the rush end roles, he was getting them. Ever since he's become a proper starter, we are getting those pressures. It's just because games 1, 2, and 3, where he was a rotational player, he wasn't getting them. But ever since he's entered the starting lineup, you're getting 2 pressures a game from someone who's been asked to be a edge setter in the run and the pass game. That ain't too bad. But you're right with Houston. Especially me. I admit I've probably been the biggest detractor in Houston recently. Ever since that first off season, really, where we had the Sam argument. He has looked really good the past couple of weeks. He's getting back there, which is a great sign. And on that rotational, if we can get that 1-2 pressure from him in that rush end role as a rotational guy, that's fucking great. I would love that. Continue that on into the playoffs when we're playing, I don't know. I'm going to say Jalen Hurts. They're the biggest threat to us right now in Philadelphia Eagles, in my opinion. In the NFC Championship game, if we can get them into third and longs, you just send Houston out there, and all you have to do is just go get Hurts, and he does it. Perfect. But Pascal, I think it's a bit harsh to go at him and say, oh yeah, it's year 3 for him. We need to expect a bit more. The role he's been asked to play for is you're not getting the pressure. You're occupying the left tackle, making sure they're not scrambling out away from Hutch, away from Zedarius, away from Houston. So then they can get what some would call clean-up sacks. But that's how our scheme's predicated is rush end gets them, or Aleem at the free tech, they get the pressures, while Reader, Pascal, Levi to the extent where he's playing the big end role, they're just being asked to, make sure they don't scramble past you on both the rush and the pass games. So I'm happy with Pascal. He hasn't exactly been grading out well by PFF. He hasn't been getting all the pressures in the world, but that's because of just the scheme role he's been asked to play, unfortunately. Hopefully, next in the offseason, he can become more of a rush end.
So this is nothing to do with this is 209 pass rushing snaps. I'm not talking about runs, like his run defense. I get it. It's what he's about. But he's also an edge rusher who is designed to go after his quarterback. 14 pressures is not enough on a year. When you're doing so much, it's not a great return.
Again,
the wrong stuff is fine, but on pass rushing snaps, he's not setting the edge for the run. He's going out and he's trying to make plays on the quarterback.
Yeah, so I'm using the setting edge run to explain what I'm saying when I say it with the run game, the pass game. It's so when we play, for example, a Kyler Murray, it would become more predicated. But basically, it's the solid wall that then, with let's say with Matt Jones, if he sees Z coming from him from that right tackle spot, Pascal is there to make sure he doesn't get out that way.
Right, Matt Jones is not a rushing quarterback. Like, yeah, so we do not play Kyler Murray every week. Again. So this is a very low bar as well. Like, it's not like he's got, this is a very low bar. So, and again, it's a concern, not a full-blown problem, but you've got to have pressure coming through. We're not getting home to the quarterback enough. And we're going to need to one day. And it's all very well bringing an edge down, but when we need someone to actually get there, that is his job.
Just to come in the middle here and maybe kill off this as well, I think there's some room to say for Pascal that this season has been hit by injury enough for him, and he's only really just come back. I think you can make the argument that he has performed well given the limited reps that he's had, whilst still wanting more from him. I agree with Ant that I would actually, even in the can crusher role that Ash says, and it definitely is his role. Like, he's not going to get as many sacks as the person opposite him on the edge because it's not what the Lions ask him to do. Having said that, I think 2 precious games enough for that role. Still. So, great you're getting it. I still want to see more. And yet, I still think that you've performed adequately in spite of the injuries that you've had. It's somewhere in the middle of you both, I think, personally. Hate to be that moderator bullshit that kind of falls in the middle, but I do think that you're on the extremes of an argument where the truth is in between. So, good. I like the 2 nods. That's awesome. Okay. Did you have any other gripe, Anne, or was that the end of that?
They're not really gripes. They're just observations. No. Like, you can't really take anything away from that that's on the negative side. So maybe just disappointed we didn't get 8 straight touchdown drives and we had to settle for a field goal at the end. Like,
All right, let's go through the rest of the slate very briefly. Thursday Night Football, Commanders, Eagles, and the Eagles take a hold of the NFC East with a big 26-18 win, including 20 points in the fourth quarter. They move to 8-2. They are a game back from the Lions and now our biggest threat by record, if by nothing else. But, boys, if they keep winning, they're going to start to believe in their hype. And you know what? I still don't believe this team is fundamentally good, but they're finding ways to win against now better teams than they were. And, Barkley is a weapon and Hurts has started to get a bit more confidence. That defense is young and it's starting to perform. They've drafted well, as we know. Some of their rookies are now really starting to play. I mean, and I wrote them off 2 weeks ago when we were having a look at NFC contenders that we were having to look at, but they're certainly in the game.
I mean, I'm just looking back through their results this year, and so you've beaten the Packers, you've beaten the Saints, they're a dumpster fire. You've beaten the Browns, the Giants, the Bengals, the Jags, the Cowboys, the Commanders. I'm not seeing a massive signature win there against a top-tier, elite, dangerous team. Like they've lost a couple. They lost to the Bucs back when they were injury-free, and they are, for all intents and purposes, a playoff team. They've lost to the Falcons, who back then were also injury-free. They're getting their swag back, but they don't have a signature win to hang their hat on yet that got me really worried about them. Like, let's see what the schedule is coming up. Like, the NFC East is not the biggest gauntlet. You've got the Rams, the Ravens, and the Steelers in 3 of your next 4 games. That will tell me where you're at, especially the Ravens, because the Ravens are vulnerable this year. They go and pummel the Ravens, you're going to be in some bother with them, but they are a threat. If they get going, they're a threat. I'm just maintaining my opinion right now until they have a signature win. I don't think that's unfair to say they don't have one yet.
Nope, I tend to agree. Ash, what do you think?
Yeah, they don't have a signature win yet. This one that Thursday Night Football probably being it because Commanders were the darlings of everyone. They're seen as the hot and up-and-coming team, kind of like we were. season and a half ago when we went on that run, wheels are starting to fall off for them, unfortunately. Like the run games kind of fell off the cliff because Daniel's obviously nursed an injury, can't really scramble as much. So they're having to rely more on Brian Robinson Jr., Austin Eckler, even Jeff McNichols. Jesus Christ, what a throwback of a name, are getting carries. But the Eagles did a really good job of shutting down Tim McLaurin and the outside receivers. Like McLaurin, 2 targets, 1 catch for 10 yards. That's not what you need from your wide receiver one. You look at the guys who got all the catches for them. 9 targets, 8 catches for Austin Eckler, 7 targets, 6 catches for Zach Ertz, 3 targets, 2 catches for John Bates. Those are all tight ends. That's tight ends and running backs. He was having to dump the ball off because, as we kind of alluded to earlier, that defense where they've restocked a bit, the young pieces are starting to really come together. Zach Bourne, the former New Orleans Saints that they've brought over in free agency, absolutely exploding. 15 tackles, a tackle for loss of pass defense. Nakobe Dean, who they drafted a couple of years ago from Georgia, 10 tackles, 1 pass defense. Reed Blankenship, which I know a certain Pioneer member absolutely loved, yet another interception and 10 tackles. Jalen Carter, 7 tackles, 1 TFL. Cooper DeJean, 5 tackles from the slot. Quinion Mitchell only got 1 tackle, but he absolutely shut down McLaurin when they were facing each other. No targets in his coverage. Jalix Hunt, who was a draft darling for us, even getting in there. They're all starting to play well, and if they can keep that going, they might have that situation. The Ravens right now, if Derrick Henry isn't going, they still haven't got that pass game going with Deontay Johnson. The Eagles could get there. They're not the biggest threat to us. Doesn't mean they are going to beat us, but you look around everyone else in the NFC, San Francisco aren't going to get there. That NFC West is just a dog pile. Whoever gets out of there is probably going to go one and done because they'll just be so tired. The South is probably going to be the Falcons, but they're not exactly explosive. The biggest threat is the Eagles because they're going to win that NFC East because Cowboys are done, and the Commanders, unless they can get that defense firing again and Daniels can start scrambling again, they've got nothing.
Doesn't Reed have the 3rd best QBR against the safeties in the league now behind R2? I saw that earlier. I was really proud of that. I'm glad R2 were first, but I'm so glad he's 3rd.
Yeah.
So perfect.
Next game up is what Ant has already alluded to. Packers beat the Bears by 1 after the block field goal to end the game. I've got to say that I actually thought that Caleb Williams had a good game. I compared to what he's been the last few weeks, where he's legitimately been one of the worst rookie quarterbacks of all time, he had a passable game this week. And, DeAndre Swift had his big rushing touchdown, but in the end, even though the Packers I thought were relatively poor, they know how to win games and they're well coached, and that is the difference between these teams, and this means the Packers remain relevant in the NFC playoff picture.
It is the 20th of November. Caleb Williams has not thrown a touchdown pass in America since October the 6th. Oh, he's our new daddy in the NFC North. All power to Caleb Williams. He's not thrown a touchdown pass in America for 6 or 7 weeks now. Oh, it makes me laugh. That team talked so much shit in the offseason that they were going to replace us. Now they're staring down the bottom of the barrel at another rebuild. It's karma. Thank you, Packers. And that is the only time this season I will say that. You didn't just beat them. You beat them in the way that broke their hearts the most. Like, they're the good wins.
Did you see the comment from the guy about the block the week before saying, if this happens to the Bears next week, kill me?
Yeah. No, he said I'm leaving this app forever.
And he's just gone to blue sky like the rest of us, it seems. But yeah, I agree. Like, every week this happens, what I initially thought was a hot take, and I know it's been referenced on the podcast a couple of times the past couple of weeks. Drake May being the QB1 of last year's class just looks even better, doesn't it? Like, I know Jalen Daniels is there, but Jesus, Drake May can pass the fucking ball, as we'll come on to. Bears screwed up. Like, yeah, they're going to be in a rebuild again. Luckily for them, they'll have a top 5-10 pick that they'll inevitably waste on like a running back or a linebacker or something stupid because they can't fucking draft to save their lives.
They'll take another wide receiver instead of an O-lineman to protect Caleb. They'll just get another.
Yeah.
I mean, the Bears fans should not be making bets at the moment. I think they're about on par with FSU fans for making bets. Did you see that? Did you see the FSU basketball one?
Yes.
The guy at FSU Barstool had to eat a Carolina Reaper because Florida just like, stop making bets this year, FSU fans, for your own good.
Yeah. And the thing is, they're not making these bets under any pressure. They're just throwing it out into the world, and then the receipts are out there for all to see. Like, how stupid are you really?
Exactly. And to make it even worse, in the past, I know it's talk basketball just, but to go back to the football. Fucking UOF has flipped 2 of our fucking recruits in the past week.
Until that guy fulfills his promise and eats shit.
Yeah.
It's just gonna keep. They need to hunt it. We're
gonna fucking lose this weekend. We're gonna lose this weekend to an FCS team has won 1 game. We're gonna fucking lose. And I'm going to cry.
I tell you what, if they lose to Charleston Southern this weekend, I think there will be a nationwide manhunt to find that guy and force feed him to get rid of this curse.
I'm skipping what I'm doing this live stream on Sunday, and I'm getting on a plane. I'm going over and I'm hunting him the fuck down. Fuck this.
Right, let's move on to the next game. It's Vikings at Titans, and the Vikings win in a really disappointing low-key affair, 23-13. We know the Titans' defense is good. They held the Minnesota rushing attack of Aaron Jones, Cam Akers to 64 yards on the day. Darnold didn't throw a pick and didn't look completely inadequate for the first time in about a month. But, I mean, Will Levis had a 98-yard rushing touchdown to make the game interesting late on. It was a pretty crap game all told, and neither side come out in any glory, but it happened.
What do you mean that no side came out with good glory? Didn't you see the Minnesota Vikings, the nightmare of the AFC South? They came out with all the glory. Oh, wait, we're going to absolutely blow that out the water this weekend when we beat the Colts and, do it by like 4 times the amount of points that the Vikings have done it by.
You need to check yourself for this Thursday, just saying. But anyway.
My question is, why is Jordan Addison scoring touchdowns in the NFL and not in jail still? So, yeah.
He's not catching the ball. He was 3 of 8, but he is catching strays from Anthony Fitzpatrick. We'll move on.
Catching righteous strays. If JMO gets, he should be in jail. End of.
Next game up is Raiders at Dolphins, and this one was kept interesting for some time, actually. 34-19 in favour of the Dolphins, but the Raiders kept coming back at the Dolphins, who piled on 17 points late to nip this one in the bud. Tua, 28-36 with 288 and 3 touchdowns, and Achan had 17 for 73 and a touchdown. They got theirs on offense, but Minshew, 30 of 43 for 282, 2 touchdowns and a pick. Brock Bowers continues to be on an absolute tear as maybe one of the best rookie tight end seasons the NFL has ever seen. And we know what that looks like because we almost had that last year. I don't know how it's happened, but the Raiders have kind of traded away their best wide receiver and they don't have a quarterback. They've become low-key fun.
Yeah. I mean, who remember when we were watching the thing and I said, oh my God, you won't guess who's just scored a touchdown for the Raiders? Somehow, Amir Abdullah is one of the Raiders' leading receiving weapons. Is this 2016 Lions all over again?
Yeah. I want to put out an arrest warrant for whoever is not feeding the ball to Jalen Waddle in Miami, courtesy of my fantasy football team. 300 passing yards, and you're giving 120 of them to Jonnu Smith, and you cannot even give 30 to your star wide receiver. Someone needs putting in jail. Jalen Waddle needs trading to a team that will appreciate him and love him for who he is. I'm sick and tired of having to bench him because he's one of my star players this year. Screw you, Dolphins.
All I'm going to say is do not look at my fantasy bench in our league then, because
there's one person who's getting an even bigger shot in fantasy this week because they don't need to exist as a player, and I hate them so much. That fucking tight end hybrid. That's not.
Yeah, that's the guy that I should have played over Travis Kelce. And so I lost 46 points.
In fact, sorry, Matt, I'm just hijacking this, but we're going to talk the Saints game next. Screw you, Taysom Hill. You should not exist at this level in fantasy football. You should not be an option. Throw the ball or just stop it. Stop it. I hate you so much, and the Saints are still frauds.
Saints will be next, but first Rams at Patriots. Rams win 28-22 in a high-quality affair. Both sides. Drake May looked great. 30 of 40, 282, 2 touchdowns on a pick. Stafford only threw the ball 27 times. 18 completions, 295 and 4 touchdowns. Both sides ran the ball effectively. Nakua and Cup had a great receiving day. Bourne had a really good receiving day. Fumble for May, which was lost, really kind of hurt in a one-possession game. I came out kind of really impressed. The one blot on it is that the Patriots were driving to win and May threw the most god-awful pick to Cam Kitchens to seal it. I know, Ash, you just talked about Drake May, so I'm going to throw it to you.
Yeah, of all the players to throw it to as well, it had to be that Miami tight end. Miami safety. But yeah, just May is, ever since they've put him in and he's kind of settled in, he's just looked electric. This is UNC prime Drake May, and you know that is because they're having to rely on a cornerback for some rushes. This is going to be a throwback. Marcus Jones, the former Houston corner / returner, he's getting some run on offense. The Patriots are actually being kind of inventive a bit on offense rather than the same old boring stuff we're used to. I love to see it. Jaheim Bell getting some run as well on there. Love to see that as well. But yeah, May, if he doesn't he's still got a couple of the hero ball stuff, but he's just used to it. Get him an actual offensive line and more than 2 people can catch the ball in a week, and you'll be fine. But as for the Rams, again, keeping themselves relevant in the NFC West. I honestly do not know who's going to come out of that NFC West for the playoffs. I still think it's going to be.
I know.
Have you ever seen anything so tight in your life? In fact, no, that's maybe the wrong way to phrase that question. Have you ever seen such a close run competition before? What? Cardinals are 6-4. Everyone else is 5-5. I don't have a Scooby who's going to come out of that one. And
it just sounds so like a comedy set by Ricky Gervais or something. I've never seen anything so tight as your mum.
I would not be so crude on air, but yeah. Thanks, Drake, for throwing that pick at the end. Guess who had Drake May as their quarterback in fantasy this weekend? That lost me points right at the end of the game. So I'll explain. Dak Prescott was my starter. He's on IR. I streamed Daniel Jones because he was the best one left. He's been benched. Drake May. You know what? I may never do fantasy again after this year.
Okay. I'll probably come on to it at the Giants game. I just want to say, you just mentioned Daniel Jones. I love that the Giants have benched him, when he's currently leading the league in rushing success rate. Fun facts for you. He's number 1 right now.
Anyway.
Number 2 is Kirby.
Who cares about rushing success rate for quarterbacks? No one cares. No, for quarterbacks specifically. But anyway. Yeah.
I don't know who's winning the NFC West, though.
I do. Yeah.
Cardinals.
I do, yeah.
Yeah.
Still runs like a bloody toddler, though, doesn't he?
The thing is, the Cardinals, you always just worry that they've got one bad loss in them somewhere. And all it needs to be is to... I mean, how many of the away games have they played? I know they don't usually play well at Lumen Field. I'm not sure what they're like at San Fran.
Well, they're playing at Lumen this week, aren't they?
That's going to be big for them. If they can beat Seattle in their own gaff, because I love Kyler, but I will truly believe in them as a playoff outfit if they can win that this week.
Actually, are they playing? No, maybe they're playing at home.
No, they're at Seattle. They're at Seattle. So the remaining schedule is at Seattle, then at Minnesota, at home versus Seattle, at home versus the Patriots, at Carolina, at the Rams, and then closing out at home against San Francisco.
So they've still got 2 road games in the NFC West then.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're
God,
going to
they
win
played
it.
the 49ers twice
Actually, no.
already. That's
No,
all right, we've played
they're
them.
finishing
No.
against the 49ers.
Oh, right.
No, they've got one road game left in the West. They've got but 4 overall: Seattle, Minnesota, Carolina. Oh yeah,
I thought they were
wrong
away at the
saying
Rams. I think you said
They are
away
away
at the Rams and they're away at
I
Seattle.
misread it. Yeah.
All right. Next up is the team that you mentioned earlier, and Browns at Saints. And the Saints pull away late from the Browns. They were up 14-6 at the half and scored 21 points in the fourth quarter to win 34-14. Derek Carr, 21 of 27 for 248 and 2 touchdowns, but he wasn't the player of the day. It was Taysom Hill, who was 1 completion on 2 attempts for 18 yards and an interception. That isn't why he's player of the day. 7 carries, 138 yards and 3 touchdowns, and then 8 receptions on 10 targets for 50 yards. Man found ball. Man run ball.
Man shouldn't be in fantasy. If you can't decide on a position, you're not allowed in fantasy.
If you have 1 completion for 18 yards and 1 pick, you're not a quarterback.
Mm-hmm.
You know, he's such a unique player.
He's damn good at what he does. He's one of the most unique, but one of the better players in the NFL, and frankly, only the Saints know how to use someone like him.
Which is what I'm about to say. Imagine if he retires this offseason and he drafts that guy that's coming out this year.
Oh, fuck, no. Send Eli Stowers anywhere else. Eli Stowers is actually a good quarterback, and he's a fucking great receiver this year. Like, the Vandy sensation's going to hit the NFL. Some team's going to get so lucky with him. He wouldn't fit us, but he will. He will be a great player one day.
Next game up is the funniest game of the week. Colts win against the Jets 28-27 in New York. Aaron Rodgers, 22 of 29 for 184 and 2 touchdowns, and Breece Hall came alive, 16 for 78 and a touchdown. He also had 7 for 7 for 43 and a touchdown through the air. And yet, I said it before, Anthony Richardson may be one of the best games of his career. 20 of 30 for 272 and a touchdown. And by best game of his career, I mean he looked like a fully functioning quarterback for the first time. He also ran the ball 10 for 32 and a touchdown. The stat line in rushing indicates someone who was successful in the red zone and was called upon to be the battering ram as opposed to the primary rushing threat in front of Jonathan Taylor at times. And then the passing statistics have been double or more than double the completion percentage of some of the games he's put up this year. I mean, Richardson looked like a broken man at quarterback. And low-key, fellas, I said this in Discord, but I'm going to back this up again. I'm going to put it on the recorded tape. I think the Colts have woefully mismanaged something that they meant on purpose. I think they benched Richardson and said he's not starting again this season, fully knowing that they wanted to bring him back. And the fact that their relief quarterback shat the bed forced them to do it maybe slightly earlier than they meant to. But Richardson's confidence was so damn low when he got benched that it was almost inevitable. You gave him 2-week rest, was it? And he comes back. And, I mean, if you go for 13.5 yards per completion with a touchdown and then some short yardage rushing stuff, which we know he can do. Some of the tight window throws were some of the stuff that you'd love to see from some of these better quarterbacks who are underperforming. I'm not saying that this means that everything is forgiven for Anthony Richardson, because frankly, if he goes back to who he was next week, we're still going to think the same of him. But this is one data point in his favour. Maybe the first and only. We'll see. But Ash, I know you're kind of maybe on this train with me, so I'm going to throw it to Ant first, because just to get maybe a bit of balance in this.
See, the Colts are one of the teams that need to learn from what we've done with Jared Goff, in that you've got to show trust in your quarterback. Anthony Richardson has not played a lot of football. He is the reason why agents are going around college football now telling all the quarterbacks, don't you dare come up to the NFL and declare to the draft that you've played for at least 2 years full football, because you've not developed enough. Like, you've got the gap between college and the NFL is so big. You can't afford a learning curve when you come up here, like a significant one. You've got to develop as much as you can in the collegiate game. And it's just very apparent that he's a very talented quarterback, but he's just not played enough football And unfortunately for the Colts, benching him and keeping him on the sidelines is not going to sort any of the issues he has at the NFL level. As a quarterback, you can only develop on the field. Like when you first come in as a rookie, you can sit on the sidelines behind a vet. You've got to learn the mental side of the game. You've got to learn all that bit about you. You can do that, but he played last year. He's past that stage now where you need to be getting him on the field, but you can't pull him because you're just going to damage his confidence. So you've got to either commit to him or say he's done because this pulling him and not pulling him, etc., is just going to mess with him too much. If you're the Colts, you made a commitment to a quarterback who was raw. You are going to have to ride a couple of rough seasons out while he gains the experience and his skills develop. And you need to stick to that timeline. You can't just say, oh, actually, I've changed my mind. I want to fast forward to win now. So stick with him. Yes, I know you're in the run for a playoff. If you miss this year, but you keep him in, guarantee that's better for your long-term prospects. You could risk ruining him long-term for short-term gain, and then you've got to draft another quarterback and start from the beginning. So that's where I'm at with them. Just stick with him now, implicitly. Tell him he's your guy. Back him like we've backed Goff, and you see the confidence that comes with it when you know you've got an organization that's not just going to chuck you away when you do bad. So you've got to be better, Colts.
Ash?
Yeah, like I know Richardson's come out and said that the benching is one of the best things they could have done for him, especially since obviously seeing Richardson that year that he came out playing, he obviously played against him. You could see some of the absolute throws. So the one, I think it was the Adonai Mitchell, the 33-yard completion, that was reminiscent of him to Ricky Pearsall, like just on the money. He can do it. But yeah, just having that mental reset, the only way you can sort of get around it is, as you say, you've got to play him now. Like what the Packers did with Jordan Love is the only time now you can really bench a QB for that long. And then that kind of is a nice segue to the other side where this was the game that broke the New York Jets. Joe Douglas is gone. I know he's made some absolute great draft hits, but again, first round guys, everyone else, and even some of the first rounders have been misses. He's probably going to go back to Baltimore with his tail between his legs, get a nice cushy scouting job, try again later kind of thing. But it's also broke Aaron Rodgers, it seems, because I don't know if you guys saw it, because it might have come out when you guys were recording. There are reports going around that this is Rodgers' last year. The Jets are going to cut ties. It's a complete reset. Which is why, and this might be a hot take because it's a big conversation now because we're getting that time of year. If I was Ben Johnson, out of these two teams, it's not the Jets I would be going to.
Bengals.
I said out of these two teams.
Oh.
I thought I had to have it. Imagine, I know I don't want it to happen, touch wood, it does not happen. But imagine, because the Colts are going to have a hard reset. I can see the GM definitely go in, maybe the head coach. Imagine Ben Johnson and Ray Agnew with the Colts. Ben Johnson is the kind of guy.
I don't think Shane Steichen's going anywhere. Just for what it's worth. The problems they have, maybe, but the problem is the GM and not the head coach who hasn't been given a shake. Personally.
Yeah. I think, quickly talking about it, I think he should wait for the Bengals job. You can imagine those playmakers you've got there, you've got a good team with you. Joe, I think Joe would, you can see Joe's playing at an all-pro level right now, and he's getting nothing.
If that team was 500, he'd be the runaway candidate for MVP.
Exactly.
We should still be in the race. The fact that he's not in the race is just stupidity.
And the fact you've got two great edge rushers there, you've got pieces on defense, you've got some young bits there, and I think that'd be where he'd thrive. I do. I think he should wait for something like that and go there rather than, I would hate to see him go to the Jets or the Bears or some crap like that.
I know it's really easy to say, but Bengals ownership also sucks. So he's going to have to overcome that, but they're stingy, they don't like playing players, which means, Ben Johnson's learned from Dan Campbell, you look after your players, that's going to be a fight. I like the personnel grouping for Ben. I don't like the situation. I don't think that they'll gel at the ownership level. But it might be one of those ones where we go, well, I've got Burrow and I've got Chase. Maybe I can make it work. I don't know. Anyway, let's move on to Anthony Fitzpatrick's game of the week. Ravens at Steelers. Steelers don't score a touchdown, but beat the NFL's best offense so far this year, 18-16. Go on, say I told you so.
What? You're picking the Steelers? Why on earth are you picking the Steelers? Steelers train, baby. You put your faith in a team and you stick with them. And they probably should not have won this, but at the end, I'm just like, yes. I could feel you collectively in the ethos, the force going, oh, fuck no, I'm going to have to deal with him now. But you know what? I just say give kudos to the Steelers team. Like, you know, they needed a signature win as well. I think the Steelers are a good team. I have since the start of the year. A lot of people don't believe in them. But I think this now proves that, and I know they have a really good record against the Ravens. Never play in Pittsburgh well, but fact is they're still winning and they're still looking decent. Like the defense is really good, and again, I love them so much because they draft players I like, and you see all these guys making big impacts on this team, playing well, and you know it's similar football, not like unlike ourselves. It's gritty. It's you're written off, you're defying expectations. And I loved it. The only thing I would change is that, again, for fantasy purposes, why is he not throwing to Pat Freiermuth? He's got a goddamn tight end who is great there, and
he can't throw over the middle.
No, I know he can't, and I'm just it's just terrible. Breece Hall propped me up this week, and Drake May did, but that was it. I'm pretty sure Taysom Hill outscored the rest of my team. I had the Lions defense, but we got one takeaway. We got like 6 points. It's stupid, but still. So Steelers are legit, and I hope now you will join me on the Steelers bandwagon, that you'll give them a little bit more faith in future.
Never. Also, if anyone wants to write an article in the off-season about top trade targets, generally speaking, Freiermuth is going to be very high on that list because he's a much better player than the Steelers are making him look. Just very quickly, many thanks for the super chat to Jody Carithers. A $15 super chat says, great podcast, wavy hand emoji. Appreciate you, Jody. Thank you very, very much. Appreciated.
And can we just quickly say about the Steelers, can we appreciate George Pickens' redemption arc like J-Mo's? You remember when everyone was getting after George Pickens and saying, oh, he's just a little bit of a diva who's not... Like, how well is George Pickens playing right now? Some of the catches that dude makes are insane. Like, again...
He's a player that you take the rough with the smooth, but the thing is, the smooth is so damn good.
He's like J-Mo in a way.
Yeah.
I think a lot of people have got on his back for his less desirable traits. And, some of it's justified, absolutely. But he seems to have sorted himself. And, he is what they drafted now. And he's one of my favourite receivers to watch at the minute. He's just, go up and go for anything and he'll get it. And some of the catches he makes are spectacular.
Yeah, so Ash, obviously the MVP campaign for Lamar Jackson has been finished by this one.
You really think so, wouldn't you? But I think people still have Goff below him for some reason. But the thing is, and I know we mentioned this because I said about it on the stream, and this is going to be a nice little dilemma for Ant, I think, because this is some time that I should have played. So I had the choice between Boswell against the Ravens defense and John Parker Romo against the Titans defense. Can you guess which one I played and which one I should have played?
You're just an idiot. I'm sorry, but no. Why?
Probably I wouldn't pick Romo Cop in that situation. I just love him because of his name.
Thank you.
Yeah. Well, I was a fucking idiot. That's what I'm saying. You look at my bench.
Boswell's basically a quarterback at this point. He puts up quarterback numbers every week.
Exactly. I didn't believe in you could I will happily screenshot it and I will put it everywhere. I left 75 points on my bench this week in fantasy between Taysom Hill and Chris Boswell. The other two players scored a combined 1.8 points.
And yet you still won't put Taysom in your starting lineup this week because you just can't trust him.
Exactly. I still won, though. I still won the thing. I'm coming for you. Exactly. I'm second in the league.
Is Matt putting up an L there?
Yeah.
We've already talked about the Titans and your prediction for them this year. So you don't need to put the L up.
I'll just say, Ash, I'm 2 points clear at the top of the table. I don't care if you think you're coming for me or not.
When it comes to playoff time, anything can happen.
Oh, by the way, who's winning the Lions prediction league for us this year? Oh yeah, me.
Is it?
Yeah.
So long, to be fair, I was about to say, so long as I'm not coming last, I'm happy. But I know I'm definitely not last.
Yeah, that would be Tom Wilkinson.
Tom,
you should be ashamed.
Tom's dead last.
Right, let's finish things up here. We've got 4 more games to go through. Falcons at Broncos. Broncos humble the Falcons 38-6. This game was not close. Bo Nix might be a franchise quarterback. 28-33, 307 and 4 touchdowns. Javonte Williams 9 for 59 and a touchdown. Kirk Cousins 18-27 for 173 and a pick. Much like Mac Jones, maybe he wasn't the problem. He definitely wasn't the fucking solution. And you very politely got your hand up, so I presume you have something very important to say.
No, this is just me raising my hand saying I was wrong about the Atlanta Falcons, and I'm sorry. I said they were a good team, and they're not. So, that's me. I mean, I'm pretty sure when we discussed this on the preview last week, I'm like, damn it, I do really like the Broncos, but the Falcons will pull one out the bag when they need it, and they didn't. They're not very good, and Kirko is back to being his usual mid-self. So, they're in a bit of trouble now because they've spent a lot of money on that. They've tried to buy their way to success as well, and it's not worked. So they need to help Penix work. So at this point, I mean, what are they? I guess they are still winning the NFC.
Oh yeah, by some distance, 6-5, and Tampa have 4 wins. Do they have 5 wins? Yeah.
But they are not the team. I have no. If we came up against them in the playoffs, I obviously would respect them, but I would have no real concerns that they would be able to do anything to us. They're not as good as I thought they were.
Yeah, Ash, I would say to you that the difference in this game fundamentally was coaching. Sean Payton is absolutely making the most of a Broncos team that has 2/3 of the cap of anyone else. That pass rush is legit.
Yeah, it really is. Like that, and I might summon a certain other panel member and say this. Riley Moss has looked really damn good as a opposite PS2. Really damn good. The only thing I really want to add is free Tyler Algier. Free Tyler Algier. How the fuck are you giving Jace McClellan carries and not him? Algier has 1 target, 1 catch for -1 yards. You've got one that, like, honestly, other than maybe our backfield, the best 1-2 punch in the league, and you just fucking play with one hand tied behind your back like you're Mike Tyson against Jake Paul. What the fuck are you doing?
Yeah, I completely agree. Nick Benito 2 sacks in this game. Just want to shout him out because Falcons have an offensive line they've invested in. When you have a look at a team that's trying to buy success, to Ant's point about how they've done it, I actually think the Falcons have gone about it in a way that I would actually back. Although they went wide receiver initially, last offseason they went, our offensive line's a problem. We need to pay some guys to fix this. So they did. And it's still not worked to some extent. But I do think they've kind of addressed it in a way that you'd like to see the Bears do if you were a fan of the Bears. And of course, fuck the Bears. But that's why I kind of like the Falcons. I picked them to be in the NFC Championship game against the Lions. This still might happen. Probably not, though. All right, next game up is Seahawks at 49ers. And I know I said the funniest game of the week was Packers-Bears, but the 49ers, for all the world, looked like they had this game in their back pocket, and then Geno Smith decides to go full Superman for the rushing touchdown to break 49ers' hearts. This entire division feels like it's 500, although the Cardinals, I think, are a game up against everyone else. I mean, this puts a dagger in the heart of the 49ers because in a 500 division, tiebreakers matter, and to lose at home against Seattle, a team that everyone had buried before this game because, they started strong, they've been on a slide. Seattle are a well-coached team that have just been struggling with injury and a bit on the offensive line. Geno still looked competent. That receiving core of Njigba, Metcalf and Lockett are still really strong. And for all McCaffrey coming back could do for them, yeah, he went at 4 yards a carry and he got 27 yards receiving. But your lead receiver is Jawan Jennings, 10 of 11 for 91 and a touchdown. I don't want to do down on Jawan Jennings because he's a lion at heart. But if you want to give him the majority of your targets and passing yards, that ain't winning football for Brock Purdy.
And guess which mug has Deebo Samuel in his fantasy football team? Yes.
I'm sorry.
You can imagine my surprise when I really need a big game from Deebo. Pass to Jawan Jennings. Touchdown pass for Jawan Jennings. Stop it, Brock. Give him the goddamn ball. You deserve that. Like, Christian McCaffrey's been out for so long. They give him 23 touches on the day. It's like, you're trying to break him right away. Why? Work him back in. You leaving Deebo out of games and not playing him. Like, when Ayuk went down, I thought, oh, might have half a chance here. Nah, let's just use Jennings and the backup tight. There's even no Kittle in this. You got 2 targets, man. Come on. You deserve to lose for that. And speaking of players coming good, Jackson Smith-Njigba is becoming very good very quickly. He is absolutely enlightening, and yeah, he is really growing. He's coming out the shadow of Lockett and Metcalf now. Baller.
Yeah.
Any further comments, Ash?
I love Jawan Jennings. I hope that my flag football team actually, listen to me because I've been bigging him up to them for weeks. Keeps coming up, and I will say it now. If for some reason we don't sign Tim Patrick to a contract at the end of the season, Jawan Jennings, I would happily take him here to play that role. Plus, the thing is, we saw what he can do in the Super Bowl. There's another guy who can throw a touchdown pass.
I got my count wrong. There's still 3 games to go, but this one maybe was the most important game of the week in terms of AFC playoff seeding. Chiefs went to Buffalo and were handily beaten 30-21. Mahomes did Mahomes things, and by that I mean he did some heroics and he also threw some picks. Allen also had a really bad pick of his own, but they did just enough on the ground, Buffalo. They moved the sticks just enough, and who on earth can cover Khalil Shakir? I do not know. Kansas City looked like they got some kind of big plays in here. Noah Gray did Noah Gray things. I mean, maybe one of the most underrated players in the entire league. He was 4 or 5 for 23 and 2 touchdowns through the air. But in a battle of heavyweights, the team I think that maybe is the biggest contender for the Lions for the overall crown came out with a win and improved to 9-2. If the Chiefs drop that half game that they're ahead of the Bills now, Bills will be number 1 in the AFC.
Bills need to prove it in the off-season. They've beaten Kansas in the regular season before. Kansas City, sorry, you can't say just Kansas. The question I would have for the Bills, and I picked the Bills to win this. I thought they would. Like, their run game's still not there, man. 19 carries for 49 yards. Their carries outside of Josh Allen. If it wasn't for that insanely good 4th down play, that may have been different. I still think there is a problem with that Bills. It relies too much on Josh Allen's superstar playing ability. That issue, it's getting better. It is getting better, but they're rushing at 2 yards per carry in that game. It's
sure, but you're talking about a Kansas City defense that's absolutely brilliant. I mean, Kansas City's defense is top 5. James Cook and Ray Davis has been really good this season.
They're getting better. I have admitted this. That's why I picked them to win this. They're getting better, but they can't do that again against the Chiefs in the playoffs because I think the flip will get scripted. I don't think Mahomes will play that bad again. They will not get away.
The flip will get script.
The flip will get script.
I really enjoyed that for the fact you flipped the script on the
yeah, I flipped the script on script the flips. There we go. But I think there's no doubt. That is the AFC Championship game. I don't see anyone getting involved in that party. We'll see that one again.
I'm looking forward to seeing Buffalo get the bye and the Chiefs having to beat the Ravens to get to Buffalo. I think that's going to be really fun.
That, but the Chiefs had to beat the Bills and the Ravens on the road last year, was it not, to get there? They didn't get seeded last year because they lost on the last day and they beat them both. Like, you could put Kansas City on the road in all the hardest places. They'd have to go through 3 tough road games. They beat Baltimore and Buffalo on the road to get to the last one. Like, how hard do you get? There's just a clutchness about them. And Buffalo, they're probably as close as they've ever been, but I still just sense a little bit of weakness there that the Chiefs may exploit in a rematch.
Someone's happy that Xavier Worthy actually did something for once.
You know what? This is going to sound really bad. Guess who's on my fantasy bench? Xavier Worthy. I'm not actually making these up, by the way. Just do it. Xavier Worthy is on my bench because he has not been targeted the last few weeks at all. And you can imagine just how angry I was in the late game when all my other receivers have played and got call. That Xavier Worthy gets, what was it, 4 receptions on one drive and the touchdown?
Yep, so you got 12.1 points all on one drive. I'm so sorry. I thought, I was like, you know what? He's actually got
It's not. He's on my bench. He's on my bench.
Yeah. I am so sorry. I thought, you know what? You're happy I could actually put for a good fantasy thing.
I thought I was being really clever in fantasy at the beginning of the year, picking him up later on. I thought Worthy in that system will do really well. And now they're not using him. And I'm furious.
It's gonna get even worse.
They'll bring Tyquan Thornton into that team and give him more targets than Xavier Worthy. Yeah. They'll do that just to really piss me off. Because now I'll put him back in my team this week and he will get 1 target for 3 yards this week, guaranteed.
I mean, who they're playing, let me have a look.
Just to say, by the way, I just want to put it out there in the world, considering where people thought the Bills were going to go after they sold a lot of their assets in the offseason. I do think that for head coach and executive of the year, they should be in serious consideration.
They should. But, I saw your comment earlier, Dan should be in this conversation.
Dan should be in this conversation because of where we are, but the problem is, head coach of the year is always given to the person who overperforms low expectations. It's just,
and he didn't get it last year.
Yeah,
like, who overperformed expectations more than us last year?
I completely agree. The problem with Dan is that if you gave it from like the middle of last year to the middle of this year, there's no contest, but it doesn't work like that. Which is why I kind of think it might go to Arizona, just because no one thought they were going to be good this year, really. But if they win their division, I think they're going to get it. Or maybe Washington. Maybe Dan Quinn.
Oh, God.
Why not? Well, Washington were kind of like...
Dan has created something from absolutely nothing. At some point, you have to give him one.
No, you don't.
It would be criminal. Especially if we win a Super Bowl this year, it would be absolutely criminal that he's taken us from worst team in the NFL to Super Bowl winner and not gotten a head coach of the year gong along the way.
It's a regular season award. It's given after the end of Week 18. If we win a Super Bowl, the votes have been cast already.
Who's a better team than us this year?
No one. No one.
Here's the thing. The reason I'm saying, oh God, is, okay, I can buy it right now. If you had to vote right now, Commanders would be up there for me. You're neglecting one thing. Who's their OC?
Cliff.
What can Cliff Kingsbury not do? Scheme up a fucking offense in the second half of the season.
Yeah, that's true.
I just don't believe that that's going to continue. But anyway, let's move on because we've still got 2 games. First one is Sunday Night Football. Bengals at Chargers. Chargers win 34-27. Ant already mentioned about how the Chargers finish that game, so I'm going to go to Ash first. Chargers defense, I talked about it in the preview and saying that I thought their defense was going to come play. They still concede 27 points. Burrow plays lights out football still. But the Chargers do enough to win once again. This team is gritty. They are the Chargers team that for the last 4 years, people thought we might get out of LA. And suddenly, competent coaching gets them there with basically the existing team they had. Apart from Lad McConkey. I'll just say that one name again because I'll say it every week.
Well, McConkey and Cam Hart, who had a really damn good day.
As did Henley.
I was literally about to say his name, but don't worry, I was getting there. Yeah, great. You know what? Fuck it. Diane Helly fucking. I don't know. I'm not going to say that. Diane Helly fucking breaking out for them this year in the middle of that defense, playing the kind, because obviously they're playing the kind of what's being called the Mike McDonald system, even though it's quite clear that the Raven system, playing that sort of middle linebacker, rangy leader of the defense. He's living up to that. Derwin James slowly getting back to that Derwin James that most people hate, but I know and love from an old. Hell, when you've got players like Louis Gilman playing well, Tuipulotu, fucking can't pronounce his name. It's tired. I'm late. I did not get any sleep last night because the house next door's house alarm was going off until 3:30. So God help them. But that's by the by. That defense is playing damn well, and I could see their DC being a head coaching candidate at the end of the season. I can see some of their positional coaches, especially the secondary coach, being DC candidates, because this is going to be the new kind of defense that people will want, this new hybrid Baltimore system. But yeah, then the offense is doing pretty well as well. Like, obviously, Ladd McConkey is absolutely showing out. But when you're getting players like Darius Davis, who was drafted as a returner, to actually do some competent things on offense, Will Dissly is getting 80 yards and 4 catches and a touchdown. Quentin Johnson is slowly becoming like the Q that we saw at TCU. And then they're still getting stuff done on the ground. It's not exactly great. J.K. Dobbs, 5.1 yards ago. Gus Edwards, 4.5. Hassan Haskins is getting in there. You're doing just enough to beat them. And yeah, the Bengals... Burrow's playing great. Chase Brown's playing great. T. Higgins is finally back up to speed. Jamar Chase is still Jamar Chase. Archivas is still going great. Hell, you can get Jermaine Burton doing some stuff. It's just that defense, and it pains me because I do like Luau, but when you can't get enough out of the lead leader in sacks and last year's league leader in interceptions, I just don't know. They need a whole reset on that defense yet again. They already brought in a new guy 2 years ago from the guy we used to have as our defensive coordinator under Jim Caldwell. They're going to have to reset again. And dare I say it, as I just said with the second coach for the Chargers, this was his job interview. Just walk him over there. He's got DJ Turner, who knows obviously out for the rest of the season. You've got him back there, but you've got Mike Hilton, who's a good veteran. You've obviously got the great front guys. Cam Taylor Britt's a good corner as well. You've got pieces there. Just need someone to put it together, and I just don't trust this Bengals defensive staff right now.
So, Anne, tell me how more people didn't have Ladd McConkey as a top 10 pick in last year's draft. I'm just saying, I think
your level of modesty is honestly...
Okay, but tell me he's not a top 5 slot receiver in the league.
I think he's found the perfect system to play in. It's no mistake that the Chargers have found a backbone. That's the big... Talent was never an issue with the Chargers. It was their backbone. They found stupid ways to lose games. Now Jim Harbaugh has them there running the ball on last down to win the damn thing and going for it and not doing anything stupid. The old head coach probably would have tried to line it up on a hash, missed the field goal, and then given up a 60-yard touchdown on the last play of the game or something stupid like that. But I think Ladd's problem coming to the draft was just simply he didn't have much mileage in college. Like, the Georgia system doesn't really showcase their receivers as much. He's a very good player, but you only saw it in spurts. They like to run the ball, they like to use the tight ends. Didn't help he had Brock Bowers there. Brock Bowers took a lot of the receiving yardage there, and then they like to run the football, they like to go ground and pound. Just some systems don't give their receivers the chance to shine. And he's not a flashy receiver. Like, when you look at it, he doesn't have elite speed. He doesn't play on the edge. He's not one of these like flashy guys or anything like that. Like, the people just like, wow, look at this.
Well, he's Amon-Ra. The way he
suffers from being he suffers from being like what we would call a rotational player over here in football. Like, he's not given the chance to shine himself. You kind of saw in the pre-draft process, he's making plays, he was doing all right, but sometimes guys just are not allowed to flourish in college because they just find themselves in the wrong system, or there's other guys in there. Like I say, Brock Bowers been there, was bad for him. because Brock took so many of the receptions, the way they play, they went through him. No one saw the gritty, poundy stuff it was the same with Puka.
And just to say it, that's what made him an unselfish player, because he's willing to do the dirty work. So although it didn't showcase his talent in terms of receiving yards, it built a gritty motherfucking player.
And in a Jim Harbaugh system where hard work and blocking and that is rewarded with more targets, that is where he will flourish. Like there's more to being a receiver than catching a ball. And I know it sounds stupid and like everyone wants the guy who can get downfield and makes the big plays, who is a lightning superstar. All the stuff underneath is just so underrated. The blocking, the selflessness for your team, the ability to be quite, versatile in the way you do. Because McConkey can line up out wide. He can do bits like that. People don't look at it, though. This is why you have to look deep into a player past what's on the surface, because a lot is missing. But I just think he's found the perfect system and the perfect head coach for him to really showcase that. So I love to see I want every single rookie who comes in the NFL to do well, because it makes a better product, and fair play to him.
So you're telling me that Lad McConkey is the American football version of Chris Wood?
No,
Chris Wood. Right, hang on. Let's see.
Chris Wood.
Andy
Chris
Carroll.
Wood. Have you seen him? Have you seen his stats this season? He comes into assistant, plays him well, that knows how to use him, does the gritty stuff for other teams, but then when he finally gets to shine, suddenly explodes. The dude over this international break has scored 5 goals, including 2 goals in 1 minute. Well, he's currently third high score in the Premier League.
I didn't look beyond your own club team, Ash, when I was thinking of John Duran, but never mind.
See, Duran...
He's got you there, Ash.
No, the thing is with Duran, he's not given the chance to shine at Villa. He's not. And at Columbia, he's not. That's what I'm saying. He's right now... McConkey is John Duran.
He's pre-draft McConkey, yeah.
He's pre-draft McConkey. Chris Wood is post-draft McConkey.
Yeah.
He does have a point, but yeah, you've got to look at their all-round game to see what you get. That's why JMO appealed to the Lions, because JMO put down some big hits in college. JMO's
special teams.
Why do you think so many Alabama receivers come up to the NFL? Like the year they had Waddle, Smith, Ruggs, guys like this. They're selfless guys. They're selfless guys on the football field who have to work they have to work their way into that team. It's not just at Ohio State where you're a high recruit and you come in and you have the ball thrown your way 20 times a game in your stat pad all the time. Still be good, but they just breed it differently there, and that works better for us actually. So we'd be better with Alabama receivers than Ohio State receivers.
Right. So Ant's calling it in 3 years' time we're drafting Ryan Williams over Jeremiah Smith.
Oh God, I don't know. I have no idea. I'd draft Nick Marsh over the pair of them. I think he's going to be an absolute stud.
Yeah.
When he leaves Michigan State and goes to a good team. Sorry, Spartans, but you're ruining him, and you need to let him go. Like Auburn need to let Coleman go, and they will. They won't have a choice in that. He'll be gone soon.
Final game of the week last night, Monday Night Football, Texans at Cowboys in a lol fest, 34-10 to the Texans, including touchdowns for the Texans in the second half of the game, which hasn't happened in a while. Cowboys are all at sea, only 3 wins. Can the Panthers, can the Giants get more wins than the Cowboys will down the rest of the stretch? They've already confirmed Cooper Rush will be their starting quarterback next week. So,
can we shout out Central Michigan legend Cooper Rush, please? Because dude threw for 400 yards. It wasn't on him. The fact they just couldn't run the football. Like, you're asking him to come in and throw 50 odd times or whatever it was.
55, yeah.
Like, that's just not fair. But Cooper Rush is a legend. But it's funny, that graphic of teams and people who've won at the AT&T this year. Dallas, who play there, have not won. Dallas haven't won there this year. Jake Paul has more wins at AT&T.
The Canadian football team has more wins there. You're saying that graphic though, and you're not saying props to the Houston social media team as well for their victory graphic.
Oh, I love
where they took the mick out of the sky literally falling in at Jerry Wald.
I love the pre-match
Totally
one where finally we're going to get a competitive fight in Arlington or whatever it was, taking a shot at Jake Paul's fight. But then turns out it wasn't very competitive at all.
Oh yeah, well you say yes. It's the second time that the people in the stadium seen cheeks. You know, after I was watching the stream and it froze, so I just had Mike Tyson's bare fucking arse on my screen for 30 seconds.
My question is, why for 30? Why didn't you click X right away? Why'd you leave it there for 30 seconds?
It's because it's buffering. Because Netflix can't fucking handle sports. How the hell am I supposed to watch?
Why were you buffering his ass? Anyway.
I'm not Penne Saul here.
Right, let's
I'm
move
glad
this...
you didn't read out my comment earlier when I commented about that, because it was raucous. I said, thank God Monty doesn't have Gray and Swan Pass, if you remember the Jared Goff comments from last year.
Yes, I do. Anyway, we have one comment that I just want to get to. We've been going over 3.5 hours, so let's be brief. About Broderick Martin, 2 questions about the same person. So David Reinfurt on Twitch says, do you think Martin, now he's on the main roster, will be a healthy scratch for a few games to acclimatise him? Carlton Wood asks, with Broderick Martin coming back into the 53, do you think that we will cut Pat O'Connor and get him to the practice squad and move a linebacker to the 53 instead in Beauplan or Long, who of course was signed to the practice squad recently? So 2 questions, variants on a theme. Let's go to Ant first, shall we?
I need a question answering first. Is Chris Smith on our roster right now?
No.
In that case, right, because he'd been on he played the other day. Did I see his name tag on the field the other day, or was that Za'Darius?
No, that was Za'Darius.
Za'Darius. I think you might see him miss one game. He does need to acclimate. It depends how healthy he is and how long he's been there. I think you might see one game where he's a healthy scratch. You've got 2 games in 4 days next week. So I think you'll see him quickly because we'll need to rest some bodies up. Who would I save him for? Would I have him for... I'd save him for the Bears. And then a healthy scratch. I think that's where they'll be at this week with him. But he will see the field sooner rather than later. He needs to. I really want him to be in that group right now. He needs to be in there learning like a sponge. So I think we'll see him on Thanksgiving.
Yeah. So healthy scratch him against the Colts. But then we need him against the Bears and the Packers because they love to run it inside, and that's what he's there for. Him rotating with Reader will be great. As for cutting O'Connor, or just like health, because number one, we don't need to, I believe, because obviously
we only have 52 on the roster, didn't we?
Yeah. Well, because we brought Iffy off IR and then we've moved him back. That's corresponding moved back to 53 again.
Yeah.
I don't think we need to cut anyone like Pat O'Connor to bring up a linebacker because we signed Ezekiel Turner to the 53 on Saturday.
And so he'll probably be cut. Yeah.
It'll be him cut, and it will probably be Beauplan because he's had more run. But then eventually it might be David Long, which I know you guys probably discussed it earlier, but my piece on it is I know he's missed 30% of his tackles this season, but it's just the system. You go back to last year when he was playing in a different system, it's a bit more like ours, and he was the best linebacker against the run by PFF grade, which I know isn't be all and end all, but the fact you can have that kind of impact, you just stick him in at the middle linebacker, allows you to move Jack around, it allows you to put Malcolm. There's Sam Moore, which he played a lot of this week and was damn good. Just gives you a bit more option, and he's more veteran than Beauplan and Turner, who, to be honest, I think between them probably have as many snaps on defense as the David Long's had in like one season because he's been an actual starter.
All right. That's going to be our show. So our next episode is going to be the Colts preview, which is going to be, I think, Thursday night. And then things are going to get a bit funky next week when it comes to Thanksgiving stuff because I have a lot of work commitments. So I'm hoping the guys will be able to work around me. For that college football podcast, I'm presuming is going to be coming in between now and then. So do keep your eyes out for that one. You can find us on Raw the Lions UK on our socials, YouTube, Twitch, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and TikTok. And the Facebook group for Worldwide fans is T-shirt Lions Fans UK, One Pride Worldwide. On the website, articles at rotluk.com. Please subscribe, rate us 5 stars on your podcast provider. Guys, I know it's been a long one, but I hope you really enjoyed the show. Thank you to all the super chatters Thank you to everyone for the really active chat we've all the way through. Audio podcast listeners, we appreciate you very, very much. Hopefully we'll see you on Discord shortly. Links in the chat. Come and speak to us in between shows. Guys, thank you for doing this with me as always. And, well, with the Kansas City loss, the Lions are now finally joint top of the NFL standings, not just the NFC. Long may it continue. Let's go, Lions. One pride.
One pride.
Go long snappers.
Yay!
Recording stopped.